Hi y'all, good morning. We got a sunrise that's gonna be popping up over here behind my shoulder in a few minutes. And hopefully we're gonna be reeling in some big cats as it comes up, because that's what we're going after today. Blues, flatheads, both. Hopefully gonna get a combination of them. So I'm gonna go ahead, get us baited up here, drop them down, and me and you, we're gonna have some fun today. I'm gonna show you my rigs here as something splashes right behind me. These fish have heard it's time to film a video here. They're ready to have a cameo. But I'm gonna show you my rigs as I get baited up here, and then I'll kind of show you on the graph where I'm at, explain kind of what I'm doing and all that. But first and foremost, we got to get these baits on here, y'all. This is, you can catch fish a lot of ways, but it helps to have a bait on a hook. So let's get that going down if I can get hold of the daggone thing. So this first bait, my favorite in the entire world, skipjack head. We've got it on a Carolina rig, 8-ounce egg sinker down to 80-pound monofilament with a 10-aught size circle hook, and then a few inches below it a Catfish Sumo bait stalker fly. So we're going to suspend this bait, which means I'm going to drop it down to the bottom, raise it up where it's just off the bottom, 2 or 3 feet. So right now we're 54 feet deep. I want this bait down there somewhere between 51, 52 feet deep. So there it goes. Now this other rig here, same exact rig as far as the tackle goes, but we're gonna put a chunk on this one. I'm fishing 2 rods today. I'm in my pedal kayak, kind of a minimalist setup, if you will, although I have added the graph permanently on here. It's permanently mounted now. So that does give us at least access to the map card, depth, water temperature, speed, basic information. It's just a basic little 5-inch graph there. But there's that piece. The gut pocket's already fallen out, but we'll drop it down. Same deal. I want it 51, 52 feet deep, just off the bottom. And we're going to be fishing a point today, and I'll show you here what it looks like above the water and below. We get this bait set and get our cutting board clean and all that. Well, this guts that fill out here, gut pocket, we'll just send that down there in the water, hopefully give us a little extra scent down there if it actually makes it to the bottom before any wind or current moves it. We don't have really hardly any noticeable current flow in this area ever. And honestly, I didn't check to see if they were generating any current there at the dam, which is way downstream from here, so it don't really matter. There's very minimal water movement through here ever. If they are generating a little bit, it won't affect us up here as far as how we're setting and the kayak being anchored and whatnot, but it may give a little water movement, a little dispersion of scent. But really what we're counting on today is fish that are going to work up onto a point or work back into this creek over here in this direction. So what it looks like on the map, and there's some smaller fish marks right there. You can kind of see here this point, hopefully you can see anyway, the way it comes out here in the point, and you got this channel here. This channel is right here, and the point of land comes out right here. So I wanted to kind of set up, I've caught fish here in the past, both kind of up on top of the drop here where the channel is, and also too off the tip of the point on the deeper part. Now you can see I got the 2 X's there. That's waypoints where I have caught fish in the past. I wanted to kind of be between those, but I chopped my anchor down and I was trying to play the wind. The wind is kind of blowing kind of up on this point, which is ideal. But I dropped my anchor down and let out the line, you know, and I was trying to kind of time it where I would end up between them 2 X's. I'm a little bit off, but that's okay. I'm still kind of on the edge of the point there. I had circled around here. What I like to do when I'm getting set up is use the graph, this portion, you know, and the depth in conjunction with the map card to kind of confirm that I am where I think I am when I'm setting up. And so I know where that channel is at there. I know where I'm at, and I'm close enough here. I think we're going to get bit today, assuming some fish are working up through here, which I'm hoping they are. Now, regular viewers, this was supposed to be an Alabama trip, right? My last video was filmed in Alabama on Wheeler Reservoir. Unfortunately, the next day I went out, I didn't do worth a diddly doo-doo. So there was no video to be had out there. Now here's what I'm gonna do. I'll tell you about that, but I'm gonna put y'all in the chest here. I'm bringing y'all with me today, unedited, raw and uncut. Y'all my fishing buddies out here this morning, so when these rods go down, you're gonna see it. But I'm gonna sit here and tell you some stories as we either get bit or not get bit. If you're seeing this, by gosh, we got bit. The reason you're not seeing a second video from the Alabama trip is because I didn't get bit, at least not enough to justify putting out a video anyway. So hopefully today goes better. And if you're seeing this, it clearly did. I'm also, you'll notice, hell, look at this. I'm wearing a daggone hoodie, man. It's September, which is typically a warmer month here in East Tennessee. It's cold out here this morning. At least it feels that way. It's like 50 degrees, which I know some of you, depending on where you live, you're like, Justin, 50 degrees, we're shorts and t-shirts. This is the first little cold snap we've had here this fall. Or it ain't even really fall yet, I don't know when it turns fall officially on the calendar. To me, when football season starts, it's fall. But anyway, it's 50 degrees this morning. And when you're used to morning tips of 70 plus, that first little cold snap feels cold. So I'm out here in a daggone hoodie this morning, y'all. I should have waited. I should have pedaled my way out here, anchored down, then put the hoodie on. Instead, I put it on before I left the launch, then pedaled out here. So I worked up a bit of a sweat. Now, me sitting here with the wind blowing on me, I'm gonna cool off a little bit, but it's gonna warm up quick today. Just right here at dawn, it's a little chilly. But anyhow, I went down there to Alabama. I fished on Wheeler. I did an afternoon session, my first day getting down there. And the plan was to spend the night, fish the morning, and then drive back the following afternoon. And the afternoon session, when I got there, it wasn't great as far as numbers went, as regular viewers saw there, but man, every fish I got was good quality. Like, they were big fish. And so my plan was to stay there the night and then go out and hit a different area of the reservoir the next morning, because I have very limited experience on Wheeler. I haven't fished there much. So I was gonna go hit a new area, and I did. But it took me, I was close to an hour and a half into my day, into filming a video, before I got my first bite. And it was really small. It was just a small dink. And so I said, you know what, filming today isn't gonna work out. Because when I'm doing these unedited videos, I obviously want to have some action for you. I don't expect every trip to be action-packed, because fishing trips aren't always action-packed. I want these videos to be real, like you're all out here with me, but there's an entertainment aspect to it, and so I want to ideally post videos and post trips that we've done better than what I did that day. So I was like, I'm just gonna turn the video off. I'm just gonna focus on me, focus on getting myself ready for this upcoming tournament down there. And I kept fishing. I fished for, I don't know. I fished till noon that day. However many hours it turned out to be, I don't know. And I only ended up catching that one fish. That one dink was all I got. So I was like, this pretty much makes my decision for me as far as what I'm gonna do on tournament day. I'm gonna go back to the place I had fished our evening session, where the last video there, that's where I'm gonna go for the tournament. I'm gonna try to drag that mess, which it was a mess for sure. Lots of debris on that section of the river. It was very difficult to drag with any consistency without getting hung up and having to go back and get rigs. But man, you pull by a fish down there, it's gonna be a big one. And so I ultimately, for tournament purposes, I need 3 bites. And I got 8 hours to get them. So I'm gonna take my chances down there. We're gonna see how it goes. I won't be going back down in advance of the tournament, so we're gonna roll with it, man. The other thing about the Alabama tournament coming up is just looking ahead. I'm filming this video today on a Monday. Our tournament is this coming Saturday, so we got what, 5 days, if my math is right? I looked at the weather report last night, and of course, you're so far out at this point, good luck getting an accurate forecast. But the current forecast they're showing is some really high winds down there toward the end of the week and the weekend. And so my competition that's rolling into town later in the week and going to try to pre-fish, they're going to have a hard time. Now, I think a lot of those guys are probably going to be on the lower end of the reservoir, which is it's more wide open down there, more exposed to the wind. And so I think they're going to have a really rough time if the wind is up. So personally, me, just because, you know, I'm competitive, I want to win, I'm hoping the wind blows like a daggone hurricane. Because where I'm going to be fishing at, it's not going to affect me as much. I'm going to be on a narrow, I can't say the word, it's too early, more narrow, we'll say it that way, more narrow section of the river. So I'm not going to be as affected by the wind as what they will be, especially depending on which direction the wind blows. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, is just a bad weather day that I can hopefully take advantage of the area I'm going to be fishing, where some other guys will have to fight Mother Nature as much as they'll be fighting fish. So I'm going to go down there Friday afternoon. I'm going to drive down, spend the night, and fish the tournament on Saturday, and then come back. I won't be spending any extra time down there. But I'm home now, and so I got back there Thursday afternoon. I got home, and I ended up taking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off because, man, football started, and like I just wanted to watch ball games all weekend. So I did go out yesterday morning, Sunday morning there, and make a little bait run. And so I've got us fresh bait for today. I didn't get much. I think this cold snap we're going through is kind of threw off the bite. The places I've been getting skips, they were clearly there because I got some, but they didn't seem to be up in the water column, and they wasn't very active. I wasn't seeing any surface activity. I wasn't really seeing much of anything going on. So I think maybe this cold snap kind of threw them for a loop a little bit here. It's definitely dropped the water temp. Water temp is 77 right now, so we've had a little bit of a drop in the surface temp. So regardless, we've got enough skipjack and a couple white bass too to get us through the day here. Tomorrow, I won't be able to fish. I've got to, well, unless I get a call and a guy cancels on me, I've got a fella coming tomorrow do some fence work at my house. I recently cleared off an area full of brush and kudzu and blackberry vines and all that, and I'm expanding my yard. And to do that, I need to expand my fence farther on down to my property boundary marker. And so I got a fella coming tomorrow. At least that's when he's supposed to show up. He seems like a good dude. He seems on the up and up, but you never really know with people. It's hard to get anybody to do anything anymore. So I'm always kind of the pessimist in me takes a wait and see approach to see if anybody actually shows up. But nevertheless, I need to be home tomorrow because I got to pay him, obviously. And then, too, I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow afternoon. So my plan is to fish out here today. We're going to hopefully either tomorrow after that guy's gone and I get done with my doctor's appointment, make a bait run and fish Wednesday, or make another bait run on Wednesday and fish Thursday. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. But that's kind of my plan. I've been trying to get some projects done around the house and just get some stuff done here before the weather turns bad. So the timing of it is not so good because usually this time of year the fishing starts to pick up. And so what I'm doing today, I guess I could go in the part that y'all actually give a damn about. I'm anchor fishing, right? Which is the exact opposite way that I've been getting bit. Like I haven't done worth a diddly doo-doo anchor fishing. Not up here at home, not down in Alabama when I tried it. Like I can't get a bite anchor fishing. But this is how I like to fish. And so typically usually we get about mid to late September, definitely once we're into October, the anchor bite kind of starts to pick back up. In the summer months, if you will, especially post-spawn, like July, August, early September, I typically do better moving. Whether I'm drifting if I've got current, or if I don't have current and I'm trolling, dragging baits, I do better on the move. And that was definitely the case in Alabama last week, man. I started out, when I first rolled into town, anchor fishing. We got like one bite in an hour and a half. It was tough. As soon as I started getting on the move and dragging, got bit. So definitely on tournament day, I'm going to be dragging. But today, man, I was just in the mood to do some anchor fishing. I just wanted to anchor on a spot, drop some baits down on it, and just sit here and see what happens. See if some fish work up here to us. And so that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to tell you, I'm seeing some fish. They don't look particularly big, but there are some marks right down here in our baits right there on the bottom. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. You know, again, I know it's counterintuitive to do what I'm doing here. When you don't try to reinvent the wheel. You don't, you know, the old saying, you don't leave fish to go find fish. Well, you can apply that same perspective to just about anything when it comes to fishing. Like if you're catching fish a certain way, don't stop doing that to go try something else. But yet I feel compelled to do it. So here we are. I'm out here. I'm just in the mood, man. We're going to try to grind it out here, try to get a bite. We'll see what happens. But this is my favorite way. I love anchoring down on a spot, dropping baits down vertically under me. And when it happens, when you get that bite, rod loads up, it's on. We've got 51 feet of line out. So, I mean, it's going to be a heck of a battle today when we get on some fish. And I'm hoping, another reason why I like suspending baits versus dragging baits is typically this time of year, the flathead bite starts to pick back up a little bit. I start catching more flatheads. Well, I don't typically get them dragging. I get them more suspended. So we'll have a chance today at some flatheads, assuming there's some here and some willing to play. Oh, y'all, look at this. Look at this over here behind me. I'm gonna turn you around this way for a minute. We got the sun peeking up over the trees. Y'all take a second here, admire that sunrise. As we get later into the fall, we start getting some colder mornings. 50 degrees like today's fine. But as we get on in, we start getting some frosts. What's tough to say this morning? My mouth ain't working right. But as we start getting some frost in the morning, I won't be fishing the morning hours anymore. I'll be moving my operation to the afternoons. So we ain't got a whole lot of these sunrises left in us for the year. But it's a beautiful sight though, ain't it? Ain't it something how you can look directly into the sun first thing in the morning, but as it gets higher in the sky, you can't do that anymore unless you're on LSD. And even then, it'll fry your eyeballs. It'll fry your corneas. You won't be able to see anymore. It'll be the last sunrise or sun or whatever, you know, that you're looking at. That's what they used to tell us in school, though. Don't do drugs, because if you do LSD, you'll stare at the sun and go blind. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but I've heard that before. And if I heard it at my school, I bet some of you all heard it at your school too. It's a pretty beautiful sunrise, though. We've got some lower humidity going on. Part of this front that's come through and dropped the temperature, it's dropped the humidity too. And so that's a big help with getting some better sunrises and sunsets with the colors and stuff. I don't have all that haze in the air. Man, it's a beautiful sight. A lot more beautiful than y'all looking at my face, that's for sure. I will pan the camera for a second. There's a herd of deer over here. Some of y'all need to... I assume some kind of season's probably going on now, whether it's archery or what. I'm not a hunter, so I don't really know. Never got into it, but I wish some of y'all would take out Bambi and their family. I've had enough of Bambi this year. Really the last couple years. I wrecked my car 2 years ago, totaled it because I hit Bambi. And then earlier this summer, it's debatable whether or not I hit Bambi or Bambi hit me. I was moving very slow. I'm pretty sure Bambi run into me, but nevertheless, busted out my grill on my car, $400 worth of damage. So I'm over Bambi and Bambi's kinfolk. So if y'all want to go ahead and fill your freezer up with Bambi meat, please, by all means, take them all. We're overpopulated on deer. We're overpopulated on people in Tennessee, and we're definitely overpopulated on deer. All right, y'all, the prettiest part of the sunrise is, it's beautiful, but the prettiest part never lasts very long. I'm gonna turn this back around now. We're gonna watch some rods. We're gonna hopefully watch them go down too. That's what we're out here to see, man. But yeah, folks, this style of fishing, I've said it a million times, but it's my favorite way to fish. And I especially love doing this in a kayak that's more kayak-like, I guess. Like this is a narrow platform. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, I'm hoping I have the new kayak I've been talking about for the last month. We'll see. I was told it was going to be coming out on the 16th, was when the stores were going to be getting it. Now, whether or not that turns out to be true, we'll see. But this video will be coming out after that. So hopefully, by the time you're seeing this, if things have went well, I will have replaced my other kayak. But I already know that I'm not going to enjoy fishing out of the new kayak as much as what I will this one, just because of the fact that I'm a kayak fisherman. Like a lot of people get into kayak fishing because they're broke, or they want to get on the water, but they don't have the money for a boat or don't want to spend the money on a boat. And they look at a kayak as a poor man's boat. Obviously, the kayaks that I fish out of, these are higher end kayaks. You can certainly get cheaper kayaks, but this ain't one of them. And my other rig definitely ain't one of them. My other setup I'm building is going to be pretty daggone ridiculous. It's something. But, I do this because it's what I like to do. I enjoy the takedowns. I enjoy the fight of a fish in a kayak. And this kayak is certainly more narrow. It's more kayak-like than the basically plastic boat that I'm going to be getting right there. I think that was a carp. I saw orange on the tail. Carp over here taunting me. So, I already know I'm going to enjoy fishing out of this kayak more, but the other one I want for making longer runs, tournaments, worse weather days, things like that. But any chance that I get to fish somewhere where I can do this style of fishing, where I can anchor down on a spot and do it in a place that is a reasonable distance away from where I'm launching. I obviously don't want to make a 3-mile run in this kayak, but I mean, somewhere today where I launched is less than a mile away. So very reasonable. This is just what I like doing. This kayak, 2 rods. Man, if you're where you need to be when the fish are there, buddy, you can have a dang good time. And so I try to keep this setup very simple. I did add the graph. Prior to this year, prior to a few months ago, I was really I had that graph jimmy rigged, and I just take it on and off as needed. But when you're doing this style of fishing, and I don't care if you're doing it in a kayak or canoe or a boat, if you're going to fish like I'm fishing today, you kind of need some electronics. Now, it don't have to be fancy. This graph here is not fancy. It's just a basic 5-inch graph. It shows you depth, speed, water temperature, and I've got a Navionics chip, a little card that goes in there, shows me the maps. I mean, I've had this thing, I've had it since, I think it was 2018 I got it. 2017 or 2018, that's the graph I had bought. For long-time viewers, that's the one I had bought off Pro Mines. He had won it at a raffle and sold it to me. I believe it's $200 I give him for it. But I mean, it's just a basic setup. But for what we're doing, you kind of need some way to, you got to know where you're at. When you're anchoring down and you're dropping your baits on that spot, we're not casting, we're not like we're setting up on this point and casting out a bunch of different directions, fan casting. We're not spraying and praying here. Like, we are fishing a specific spot on the edge of this point. It's not as specific as I would like it to be because of the wind. Again, you can see where my marks are at, where I'm related to, but you want to be pretty close. We just got hit. Something gave us a little tap over there. Oh, a little tap again. I don't think we want that one. That's that head bait, so it's going to need to be a bigger tap than that if we're going to catch a fish on that bait. But nevertheless, when you're doing this style of fishing, you've got to be pretty close to the spot that you think either fish are going to be or where they're going to move through. If you're off from that spot, especially if it's a day where you don't have any flow, nothing out there to disperse your scent, well, the fish may not know your baits are there. So you've got to know where you're at when you anchor down, and the best way to do that is to have some form of a graph. The map card, very helpful, at least where I fish anyway. It's pretty accurate. In some places, like if you're on the Ohio River and you try using a Navionics card, well, it's useless. It's just not accurate at all. They shouldn't even have the Ohio River as part of the Navionics card because they're just ripping people off. It doesn't. It's off by a country mile, literally. But a place like I'm at today on Tennessee River, it's pretty accurate for the most part. So I can use that card and kind of get myself positioned where I want to be, and then use the graph part, the depth part, to kind of circle around back and forth and try to make sure, like if I'm trying to get in an old channel, for instance, I can look on the graph and watch for that dip. And when I drop off into that dip, I know that's where I need to drop anchor. That's where I'm at. So it's very helpful for that. But you don't need a live scope for it. You don't need a $1,000 graph. You can get you a little black and white unit, 4-inch screen, 5-inch screen. I guarantee you that graph right there is so old. I bet you if I looked around on eBay, I'd probably get another $100, if that, or something comparable to it. It don't matter what. That's a Raymarine, but it don't matter what brand. They're Raymarine, the Lowrance, the Humminbird, the Garmin's. They're all comparable to each other in the various price ranges. So if you buy a $200 graph, the brand you get is you getting, you know what I mean? Like, they're all comparable. You get the comparable features for the various price ranges. Now, there may be some difference in that around holiday sales. If a Bass Pro or Cabela's is maybe offering one brand at a deeper discount than another, you might see some variance. But otherwise, I mean, it's just a simple graph. Years ago, I was in my Hobie Outback. I had a little 4-inch black and white Lowrance, and I used it for a long time. What I would do, it didn't have a map card. just the graph screen. But I would use the graph screen, and I'd pull out my phone with the Navionics app, and I would look at it to get myself lined up and positioned and everything. So, I mean, you know, you can do it either way, but if you're going to do this style of fishing, whether you're in a kayak or a boat, it's going to help your calls greatly if you have a graph. And even, I mean, honestly, even if you're dragging, maybe you're pulling boards or something, you know, where you're not fishing a specific spot per se, you're just kind of covering an area. Maybe you're on a flat or you're in a creek channel and you're pulling planer boards and whatnot. A graph is still helpful just to be able to monitor your speed. You know, you've got to know how fast you're going. So I recommend just adding, and it's not going to cost a lot extra to put your graph on there. Again, $100 will get you what you need. And here's the thing, if you are on a budget and you go buy a used kayak, pick you up one on Marketplace, or I don't know if Craigslist still exists or not, but the type of, you know what Craigslist is or what it used to be, you know, a online place to sell stuff. You go find you a kayak somewhere, used, chances are it's probably going to come with a graph. And and I can tell you, I've sold a few kayaks in my day. I've bought some kayak, there was skipjack jumping right there. I've bought some kayaks used, and I've sold some kayaks used. When it comes with accessories, kayak accessories, there's no value added to the kayak. None. Like if you're selling a kayak and it's got a graph on it, you ain't getting no extra money because of the graph. So I recommend taking it off and selling it separate. But most people don't want to do that. So they're going to sell the kayak, the graph, any other accessories. They just one package, one sale, get it all gone. And therefore you, the buyer, if you're buying a used kayak, there's a good chance that you're going to get a graph included with it. And so it'll already be on there. It'll already be rigged up. If you have to put a new one on, if you have to get a graph and put it on, it's not a big deal. You've got basically two wires. One goes to your battery, one goes to your transducer. And I'll show you how I've got mine rigged up here. So I just use ram balls. I got a ram ball here to a mount here, and that kind of puts it out in front of this rod enough so it don't interfere, but it makes it high enough that I can see over my reel. So it's kind of out of the way. I had it in this little cubby when I had it Jimmy rigged on, and I liked it there, but I couldn't really mount it there. So anyway, it's there. The wires, I've got them kind of under that plate tucked away, and then I did a through hole mount, which you can buy those. Various companies make them, they're cheap, but it allows you to drill a hole in the hull of your kayak and run run your wires through it. And you can see I've put some silicone there around that just to make sure I don't get any water in there. But I got all of the wires go in the hole, which I've got a battery in there. It's a 30 amp hour lithium battery, so I can power this thing for multiple sessions without charging. And then the transducer wire comes back out this side, and I've got it running under that plate there again, off to another ram transducer mount off the side. And I've mounted that as such so that it's barely under the water. And what that allows me to do is, when I am pulling up on the shore, for instance, let's say today I get done, I make my way back to the launch, run my kayak up on the bank. That transducer, because the transducer itself is not hanging below the bottom of my kayak, it's not going to be damaged when I pull up on the bank. But because of it's kind of just right there at the edge, just above the bottom edge of my kayak. So when the kayak's just sitting in the water, the transducer's actually out of the water. But when I set down Inside here, my weight pushes it under the surface. And so we're able to get our reading that way. Now, this kayak has a transducer area. It's kind of behind the pedal drive here under the kayak, a little recessed area there that you can mount it up, and then the wires come out right there. There's a hole right here. Right there is where the wires would come out to run in here. But this is an Old Town kayak. Old Town is made by the same company that makes Humminbird electronics. They're all one big umbrella of companies. So that transducer area on this kayak is made for Humminbird transducers. If you have another type of brand, you either got to buy an adapter or put on an arm like I've done here today. And so I went this route. The Raymarine transducer, it's shaped in such a way it doesn't fit down there very good. I tried it once upon a time and I didn't like it, and so went the arm route. The arm route's okay. It will slow you down a smidge, maybe 0.1, 0.2 when you're pedaling, just because of the resistance. In the fall months, when you got a lot of leaves on the water, you're going to pick up some leaves with that thing. So it's a simple method of hooking up a transducer, but it's not without its flaws. So it's just one of the things to take into consideration. Depending on the type of kayak you get, you may not have that issue. It may have its own scupper area for a transducer, and whatever graph you get will hopefully fit in there just fine. If you happen to be buying a new kayak and a new graph and you're not particular about it, then you can get whatever graph model is compatible with the kayak. For instance, Old Town here, if you wanted something that was going to fit up in there, you'd buy a Humminbird graph. Hobie, their scupper holes, they call it Lowrance ready, so you'd want to get a Lowrance. But Hobie, at least, their transducer area will accommodate all different transducers. You just got to buy a different plate to be able to mount it there. This area is so small, you've got Humminbird and not much else. It just wasn't. That part I don't feel like was very well thought out. I feel like there was some engineer who designed that who probably doesn't fish. And he was probably told, like, hey, engineer dude, you got to make a transducer scupper hole. And he was like, well, okay, give me a transducer so I know how big the dimensions need to be. And because they all work there at Johnson Outdoors, he was probably given a Humminbird transducer. And so he probably designed that thinking that all transducers were that way, because again, he's an engineer, he's not a fisherman. And that's what we ended up with. So, and of course, the people who would have been trying out the kayak, the prototypes, they would have been working for Johnson Outdoors too, so any graphs they put on would have been provided by Johnson Outdoors, so it just, nobody caught on to the fact that that transducer area ain't any good. So that's what we ended up with. But nevertheless, they're simple to put on. They're a valuable tool when you're doing the type of fishing we're doing today, and they're inexpensive. Yeah, I mean, you can certainly buy an expensive one. You get something with side scan, you're going to pay a few $100s more. You get live scope, you're going to pay a couple $1,000s more. It's just, that's how it is. Just like if you was buying a TV set. You go buy a 13-inch TV set, I don't know what they cost, but I guarantee you a 13-inch is cheaper than an 85-inch big screen. The more you go, you get that, what was that back in the day, plasma TV? I don't know if they make plasmas anymore, but that was a big deal when it come out. You paid more for it back then. But you don't need it. I mean, for catfishing, I've caught a lot of fish with this basic graph. Like now, it's just a hood ornament right now. I've got it on. I don't really need it on. I should turn it off, actually. In fact, let's do that because that'll save on the battery. Hold that down. I've already showed you where we're at, depth and all that, so no reason to have it on anyway. Sure, we might see a fish come up there. Oh, well, look at that. Has he still got it? Is he after it? He's after it, but maybe he's got it. No, he ain't. As soon as I turned that damn graph off, I was distracted. I was leaning forward, turned that off. That fish thought he was going to take advantage. He thought he was going to sneak him a bite. I'm on to his games, buddy. This ain't my first rodeo. I'm gonna reel this thing in right fast. See if we got bait on there. Make sure it ain't foul hooked. Yeah, we're gonna rehook that thing. He knocked that hook sideways in there, didn't he? Old fish. Okay, let's send that back down. I ain't got time for them fish's games now. Need to hook up and catch us one here. We're not going to catch a bunch of fish today, y'all. I'll go ahead and tell you that right now. If you're tuning in for an action-packed day, this ain't it. I'm going to fish for 4 or 5 hours, and I'm hoping to catch 4 or 5 fish today. Between the fact that the bite lately has just, you've needed to be moving to get bit, between that and just where I'm fishing at today, I'm just not expecting to get a bunch of fish. I'd like to average a bite an hour is kind of what I'm hoping for. And I'm gonna kick back and relax here till we get it too, by gosh. Let me get to camera position here where y'all can watch these rods go down. Yeah, I'm gonna sit back here and kick back and relax. And hope to God my seat don't cave in. Let me show you this before I get too comfortable. I talked about this in recent videos. Look what I've had to do, y'all. Those are zip ties on my seat. The way the seat wraps around this bar here, and I've done it on both sides. You can see I've done it there too. The way this seat wraps around the frame, there's stitching there. Now, I've had this kayak a little over 3 years now. Used it a fair amount, but not so much you'd think that I've just wore the thing out. But my damn seat gave with me one day. I was making a bait run and I just, kaboom. All of a sudden, I think one of y'all maybe played a joke on me or something. But anyway, I tried sewing it, but come to find out I can't sew. So I ended up attaching it with zip ties on there, which is a pretty cheap fix. And so far, so good. It's holding up. I made the bait run there yesterday, and it did just fine. I think our head bait over there had a little tap. We got some dinks down there messing with us. Yeah, man, just hard times lately. This seat. It does feel like, I guess where I'd sat in the seat with the stitching for so long, maybe the material, I guess, had kind of started to stretch. The stitches had obviously stretched because the damn things fell out and broke. But now that I've tightened everything back up with the zip ties, it feels like I'm sitting a couple inches higher. I don't know if I actually am, but it feels like I am. They're definitely the seat material, it's definitely tighter. Like I can feel the difference on my butt cheeks. It was a little bit more comfortable when it was stretched out, but at least now I'm more hopeful that the zip ties, if I break these zip ties, it's probably time to go on a diet. The stitches are one thing. The stitches shouldn't have broke. But if I break these zip ties, especially as many as I've put on here, I'm gonna have to go on diet. You know what kind of diet I ain't gonna be going on though? Subway diet. You remember back years ago, and it's been, hell, I don't know how many years ago it's been. In my mind, time stopped for me about the year 2000. Like in my mind, I'm still a teenager. My body creaks and pops and everything every time I get up in the morning to remind me that I'm not a spring chicken no more. But in my mind, after about 16, 18 years old, like time stopped for me. So I don't remember how long ago it's been. But back in the day, there was a guy named Jared, and he was on Subway commercials. And they would put him on these commercials, and he'd come out there and he would hold up his old pants. And then he would drop them, not like literally drop his pants, but like the pants that he wasn't wearing, he would drop them. Apparently, well, I'll get to that part of the story in a minute. Apparently he did drop his pants inappropriately. But on the commercial, he would take the big pair of pants he used to wear, drop them, and there he'd be standing all skinny and stuff. And he would claim that he lost all that weight by eating Subway sandwiches. And so there was a diet plan for the Subway sandwiches. Now, whether or not that was true, I don't know. But old Jared got into some trouble. He apparently liked kids in an inappropriate way. He liked them a little too much and got cuffed and stuffed. I'm pretty sure he's in prison forever now. Like he's a criminal, like the bad type of criminal. So yeah, old Jared, he may have lost a bunch of weight, but yeah, real pervert. So anyhow, Subway, I get they don't put him in the commercials anymore. I guess they fired him, cut ties with him. But I guess when he was going through his legal battles over his being very inappropriate with children, stuff I can't say on this video, I guess Subway was probably spending a lot of money on legal bills for him. And it's affected their prices. I went to Subway last night. That's the first time I've been there in 2 years, maybe, or more. Maybe longer than that. I don't ever go to Subway. But I'll tell you right now, I ain't gonna be on no Subway diet, ever. Even if I do get fat and fall through my seat again, I ain't gonna be on the Subway diet. I guess maybe you could go on the Subway diet, because they're so damn expensive, you couldn't afford to eat very much, so you'd have to lose weight. Maybe the Subway diet is the way to go. But I went in there last night. It was halftime at the ball game, and I went in there. And I went there because I'm sick of fast food. I don't even eat fast food that much anymore. But I didn't want to cook last night. And I'm like, what is not fast food that I can eat in my town? And we don't have much. I mean, we've got 1 million restaurants, but it's all burgers or chicken. Like, that's it. It's all fast food. The only restaurant worth eating at in my town is Donna's Diner. And they're only open Tuesday through Friday for breakfast and lunch, and Saturdays for breakfast. So Sundays and Mondays, you out of luck, and the rest of the week, you out of luck after 2 o'clock. So if you get hungry after 2, you're forced to eat fast food in my town. But last night, I decided to go to Subway. What a dumb decision that was. I remember, and I don't remember when they stopped, but for a long time, Subway had what they called their $5 footlong, where you'd get a footlong sandwich for $5. It is not $5 anymore. I bought a footlong club sandwich. I think it was called an American Club. It had like turkey and ham and bacon and some cheese and vegetables. It was damn near $12. And I get this sandwich home, and I didn't realize at the time, because I don't like to hover over people. I've been to Subways in the past where people stand at that counter and they micromanage the sandwich maker. If you've been to a Subway or a restaurant like that, you know what I'm talking about. You know those type of people. Like they're leaning over the glass there, and they're like, yeah, give me some cucumbers and some pepperoni and no, not too much. Give me some lettuce on. Oh, more than that. Give me more than that. You know how they are. They're just overbearing and obnoxious. I can't stand those people. I can't even stand being behind them. And so I don't want to be that person when I go to a place like this. So I just I tell them what I want. I answer any questions they have. And I just stand back and let them do their thing. Like, I feel like these people make sandwiches all day, every day. They're better at it than I am. I'm just going to trust them to hopefully have washed their hands and prepare me this sandwich, this damn near $12 sandwich. Now, I should have known by looking at this girl. We got a fish. Hang on. Our head bait. Or the fly, potentially. Okay. Fish number 1 here finally, y'all. It's took a while. 52 minutes in to get our first, well, we've had some taps, get our first bite, our first solid hookup. He's not going to be no Alabama gollywhopper. But it's a skunk buster, and sometimes that skunk buster don't happen, especially when you ain't giving them what they want. Oh, well, I guess technically we kind of still skunked, I guess. He's foul hooked. He's foul hooked in the back with the fly. He's probably come up there to try to sneak a bite of that skipjack head and rolled into the fly. That made him. I knew he wasn't very big, but being foul hooked, he did feel a smidge bigger than what he turned out to be. I thought he'd be at least a larger dink instead of a smaller dink. Let me have that hook back, fish. You ain't coming in here if I can help it. I don't think I can help it but bring you in. I try not to reward bad behavior. This one here, their hide is so daggone tough. You can't hardly avoid it. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the slime off here first. I think I'm going to switch out this head. It's been down there 52 minutes. Been hit a couple times now. It still looks, I mean, it don't look great, but it don't look terrible. We will switch it out though. Let's go ahead and cut a fresh bait. Go ahead and get us another chunk too. put on this other rod. I don't have a great deal of bait. The skipjack bite had kind of, it was tough yesterday with, I assume the weather. That's what I credit it toward. But for no more fish than we're catching thus far, I think we're okay to go ahead and put some fresh down there. Give that fin a little trim. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just spruce everything up. And then I'm gonna tell you about Subway. I ain't done with the Subway story. I got some thoughts on Subway. I ain't never going back again. I shouldn't go back to Subway no way, because they were supporting that pervert for a long time. It's a wonder, I don't know how that didn't put them out of business, being affiliated with that pervert. They should have known. Now, I know you don't always know people perverted and when they ain't, but it seems like that guy, I mean, I never met him personally, but just watching him on the commercials, he seemed a little weird to me anyhow. Some executive ought to have picked up on that. But nevertheless, it obviously didn't put him out of business, but it apparently, they spent so much money in legal fees for him that they had to double their prices, because they ain't no $5 footlong no more. You probably couldn't buy one of them Subway cookies for $5 in there now. Put this other chunk on right quick. Daggone, man, we get our first fish and we can't even count it. We're off to a hell of a start today here, folks. Great idea you had to come out here and anchor fish during a time where we can't hardly catch a fish while anchored. I mean, what the hell were y'all thinking? I've told you. You find out what's working, stick with it. You don't listen to me. You talked me into doing this today, so here we are. We're gonna make the most of it. We're gonna catch something. We clearly did catch something, or else you ain't seeing this. And I hope you're seeing this. I hope this makes it to YouTube, because I'm gonna tell you all about Subway, and I'm gonna prevent somebody from making the same mistake that I did. So I go get that sandwich. And again, I wasn't micromanaging the girl that was making it. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be one of those people in the line. I just want to assume that this girl makes sandwiches for a living. She knows what she's doing. That's what I want to assume. That was you know what they say when you assume? Make an ass out of you and me. I get home, and I remember Subway, I think the reason why I'd kind of gotten away from Subway, and I ain't been there in at least a couple years, is because compared to other sandwich places, you don't get anything as far as the meat goes. Like, it was mostly bread back then. Well, I get home last night, and the bread to meat vegetable combo, I guess, it's got to be 3 to 1. 3 times as much bread as there are. Like, every bite is, I'm pretty much just eating dry bread with just a hint of ham or bacon on there. Like, I mean, there's nothing on there. I'm eating a loaf of bread. It was awful. Not to mention the fact, hell, even the bread wasn't that damn good. I mean, the bread was like dry and hard. Probably been sitting there all day out in the, just, you know how bread gets and you leave it out, it gets kind of, loses the moisture in it and it gets hard, crumbly. So it wasn't any good. And I spent almost, it was like $11, 80 something cents, almost $12 on this sandwich. And of course I went in there thinking I was going to get a $5 footlong, so I was already a little bit in sticker shock. And I get home and it ain't no good. I'm like, hell, I ain't never going to Subway again. But I should have known when I saw this girl, and again, I wasn't watching her fix my sandwich, but I got to look at her when I walked in there, and I should have known, like, this girl don't make good decisions in life. Just from looking at her. Because she had all these piercings all over her face and stuff, which is fine. You know, some piercings are very attractive on a woman. But this girl had one of these, I call it a pig ring. It's a ring in her nose that like goes, it makes a loop. And I call it a pig ring because back in the day, I grew up in the 80s. One of the toys I had was Bebop. He was a Ninja Turtle. He was a bad guy on the Ninja Turtles. There was Bebop and Rocksteady. One of them was a pig, and one of them was a rhinoceros. And Bebop, the pig, had one of them nose rings that like went, you know what I'm trying to tell you, like it goes this way. It comes out here and it loops around. It's got like a loop right here. And anytime I see somebody with those, I always just take a moment and think to myself, why the hell would somebody do that to themselves? Why would you want to look like Bebop from the Ninja Turtles in the 1980s? And it's always young people. You don't see any old person. Oh. Yeah, another little tap there. Got me excited for a second. You don't see any older people that's got any sense putting them kind of nose rings in. Now there's some older people, they got to look a little, they might have like a little gemstone on the side of their nose, like up in here or something. And that can look attractive on a woman. Now, why a woman would want that, now that I don't know. Is there something on the screen here? Let me clean y'all off here. I think that fish might have splashed us or something. There we go. It can be attractive on a woman, but they got that little piece inside the nose. It always looks like they got a booger. And it's probably got to feel like they got a booger too. Like I got nose hair, so if I had something like that, all day long I'd be picking at my nose thinking I had a booger or something. We got something going on with this rod. Hang on a second here. This rod's acting funny. He better leave it alone. I think he's come up in the water column with it. Where the hell did this thing go? Did he get our bait? He stole our bait. I think he'd come up in the water column with it and ripped us off there. Hell, we just put that thing on there a little while ago too. I wish these small fish would leave us be until a big one comes along. We can't be wasting bait now on tiny fish like that. We're gonna need a bait that's in good condition when a big one comes along. I've caught some big fish on this point in years past, so there's a chance any given time one could be moving along. Cut all them fins off. All right, let's send another bait down there, see if y'all can get it stolen too. Okay. Now let's clean them scales off. There we go. Now we're ready to drop it down. Now we're ready to catch a fish. For real this time, not a tease, but for real. Okay. All right, we're back in the game. Get all that, look at this nastiness right here, these half-digested shad. Nastiness. I just washed this kayak too yesterday afternoon. I took a water hose. This one here is easy to clean. It'll take me 5 minutes to clean this one off. So, back to Subway. I should have known this girl didn't have sense enough to put meat on a sandwich just by looking at her face, because she had made a poor decision in life to have that nose ring, made her look like Bebop from the Ninja Turtles. And listen, man, it's 2024. You can be whatever the hell you want to be in this life. If you want to be Bebop from the Ninja Turtles, if that's how you want to identify, then by damn Bebop your way on to being Bebop. I don't care. But when I see you and you got one of them things, I'm going to just assume you don't make good decisions in life. And I think most employers, if you're trying to get a job that's going to pay you something, is going to take a look at that and think, this person don't make good decisions. I better not put them in a position that's going to require them to act on the company's behalf, because they're not going to be able to trust you because you got a stupid nose ring that looks like Bebop from the Ninja Turtles. But these kids today, man, they think they're cool. They think they're original, and they do this stuff to themselves. They ain't. Like this girl last night with that damn nose ring. I seen it in the 1980s. I had the action figure, the Bebop action figure, Ninja Turtle. I had it. I still got it. It's at my parents' house in a tub somewhere, in a storage tote. Like, I've still got that action figure, so I could pull it out and be like, look, you ain't original. This was already thought of. 1987, 88, whenever the Ninja Turtles come out, like, this has been thought of. Same thing. Every time I see one of these kids, what rod? Something got hit. I felt it. I thought I did anyway. Maybe I'm imagining things. But you see these kids now, they're walking around, they got a price sticker on their hats. You know, they go buy a new hat, new ball cap, and they walk around and they don't take the price tag off of it. The sticker's still on there. That's considered cool. They think they're the SHIT because they left the price sticker on their hat. Again, it's been done before. Y'all bust out your VCRs, get you some VHS tapes of a TV show called Hee Haw. 1980s, early 80s. I remember having to watch, I hated that show as a kid, but I was forced to watch it with my parents, called Hee Haw. And there was one of the skits they would do on there was a woman called Minnie Pearl. She was an old white woman, and she had a hat on and had a price sticker hanging from it. It was like on a little string, had a price tag. So when I see these kids today walking around with a ball cap with the price tag still on it, I think of Minnie Pearl every time. I'm like, you really, like, you think you're cool and you're all that? You're walking around with a trend that an old white woman set in the early 80s. You ain't original. You're not new. You look silly. Take that damn sticker off. You buy a hat. First off, you need to pay for it. Don't steal it like all these kids are doing. Pay for the damn thing, and when you walk out the store, before you put it on your head, take the price tag off. And then, before you put it on the head, you need to bend the bill. A lot of these kids today, they're walking around. The bill on their hat is flat. You need to bend the bill of your hat. This is how you wear a hat. You bend the bill here sideways. That way, when you put it on, this bill of the hat, it ain't there for decoration, folks. It's there to help block the sun, give your eyes some protection. And so when you bend it around, and the sun's at an angle here, you want to try to kind of be able to block it a little more. Otherwise, everybody just be walking around with toboggan type things. That's what the bill is for. You leave it flat. Not only do you look stupid, but it takes away some of the function of the hat. So you look stupid with the hat being flat, and then if the price tag's on there, you look even dumber. Because Minnie Pearl, man, is Minnie Pearl from a TV show called Hee Haw. And I hated that show as a kid. I hated it. But nobody has a VCR anymore, so I guess that show's kind of forgotten about, except for people my age and older. These kids today, they think they're cool and hip and original and stuff. They don't know a damn thing. Just like this girl at the Subway shop last night. She got one of them nose rings, and I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I did not micromanage her during the sandwich making process. I pulled out my phone. I was checking the other football scores. And what a mistake that was. Like this fish made a mistake getting himself hooked up here. This is on the head again. Hopefully on the head. Hopefully this one's actually got a hook in the mouth. He might have him a hook in the nose, look like that girl at the Subway shop last night. Time I'm done with him here. All right, well, that's 2 fish anyway in the last few minutes. Took a while. I oftentimes wonder when I get on a spot like this and I'm using a physical anchor. I got a dumbbell. I dropped off the back of the kayak for my anchor. When that dumbbell hits the bottom, makes a kaboom down there, potentially spook any fish in the area. Just the noise and just a dumbbell coming right over their heads if there are any there. Okay, that's a little bigger one than the last one. He's actually got the head bait in his mouth. I'm gonna play him out a little bit because he's gonna act up a little bit. The larger dink anyway. Smaller fun size. Definitely an upgrade from the last one that we couldn't even count because he was foul hooked. I'll go ahead and get my glove on here. I know y'all ain't gonna land him for me. I can't get you. Can't get you to do nothing. Y'all should have been out here washing this kayak yesterday while I was in the house watching the ball games. I had to take 5 minutes of my day to hose this thing off. Had skipjack poop all over it where I've been catching bait in it lately. Them skipjack just poop nonstop. And every time I sling them up in, they're slinging poop everywhere. This thing was covered, stunk. Thankfully though, this kayak is, the texture of the plastic, much easier to clean than my other one. All right, fish, let's see what we can do with you here. Gotta watch that stinger hook there under the chin. There we go. All right. We'll take you, fish. Here's what I'm gonna do too. I might give you just a second or two front camera time here, fish. You don't deserve it, but since you're technically the first fish we can count, I would say it's a smaller fun size. It ain't nothing to write home about. Definitely lacking in quality compared to the fish we caught in Alabama for sure. But nonetheless, I'm happy to get him. We're gonna rehook that bait and just send it back down right quick before we hold this one up. That way we can try to be efficient here since we've only got two rods in the water. Okay. Get that reset, and then we'll hold this fella up here. Let me set y'all up here in the front seat so you can snap a picture of this fish. There you go. Okay. Yep, easy. Yeah, just, you know, smaller fun size. It's got the length of a fun size, but kind of skinny. Better fight, though, than the other one that was foul hooked and significantly bigger than him. Be nice if we could upgrade on this, though, today. I appreciate you, fish, but I want something bigger than you today. Glove there's about had it. I'm going to have to stick me another one in here. I feel like that glove's lasted a long time. Normally I'll blow them out the kayak going down the highway, but that one there I feel like it's been in here for a good long while. We've already got our baits back out, so we're ready to just kick back and relax again. All right, well, 2 fish laying. I'm gonna put the hood back over my head. That wind's still a little chilly. 2 fish inside the kayak, just a smidge over an hour. I hope we get something a little better quality moving up here today, though. I don't expect a lot of fish today, but I'm hoping for something a little better quality. Really want to get a flathead today. It's that time, man. It's that time of year. We're going to start seeing some more flatheads. Just ain't going to see them doing what I've been doing lately. Need to be suspending a little bit, or fishing on bottom. That dragging. You get a flathead kayak. I got one last month dragging, but it's just kind of a technique for blues more so than flatheads. You get a flathead dragging, I feel like it's more luck really than it is. What the hell is that on my finger right there? I'm trying to get a swig of water, can't even do it. But you get a flathead dragging, it's kind of more luck than skill, I feel like. I mean, there's some skill involved, obviously. Being where you need to be is a big splash over here, but I don't know why flatheads, you don't catch them very often dragging. I don't know why that is, but you don't. I don't. But I do get a lot of them fishing like this, especially at the low light hours, first light, dawn, evening hours, dusk. We will switch over here probably sometime in October. Depends on weather, maybe before then, but I will switch over and start fishing afternoon hours at some point here, probably in the next few weeks. I prefer mornings. I like to come out and get my fishing done and be off the water before other people come out. But as it gets later into fall and we start getting cooler morning temperatures, I do prefer fishing the afternoon hours. Not only for comfort, but it also seems too like the bite picks up a little more in the afternoon hours in the fall. So either way, that's regardless of why the bite seems to be a little better. That's what we'll be doing. But I'm going to enjoy some more morning trips here in the short term. It just varies year by year with our weather here. I've lived in East Tennessee my whole life. There have been Octobers here that are cold. I can remember it snowing on Halloween one year. There are other years, and if memory serves me, last year was like this. Hell, we had 70+ degree days there toward the end of October. So it just, you never know year by year what you're going to get in the month of October. But either way, regardless of whether it's warm or cold in October, it's a great month to be fishing. It's a really great month. Oh, we got a little action here on the chunk. It ain't acting like a big fish though. Leave it be, fish. I think he's got it. He's got, no, there he went, good. We didn't want that one. I knew right away we didn't want that one. Okay. Bait there, looks okay. He didn't tear it up too bad. Let's send it back down. I could tell the way that rod tip was bumping there, we didn't want that one. That was one of them dinkety doodahs. I won't get to fish here much this October though, I don't guess, because got our tournament in Louisiana in October, and I'm gonna go down there well in advance. I got to reach out about my trailer that I've bought. I've got a new kayak trailer ordered. It's being built in Texas, and if that guy could get it done during my Louisiana trip, I would just take the kayak down and go to Texas first and get the trailer and then haul it back home. That would save me a lot of money in shipping, and I could do some fishing in Texas while I'm there. I don't know that that's going to work out though. That's when I ordered that trailer and I got it at the end of July, well, I put the deposit down end of July. He was about 90 days behind on starting new jobs because of just other orders in front of mine. So I don't know that it's going to be doable or not, but I hope it is. That would be ideal. I could make a Texas-Louisiana road trip out of it and have a good time down there. But I'm going to spend probably a week in Louisiana for sure. And then when we get back, the Santee Cooper tournament is November 1st or 2nd. So I'll probably go over there a few days in advance. That would be at the end of October. So, I mean, I'm just not going to have as much time to fish around here at home in the month of October. But it's always a good month. October, November, both are really excellent. September is usually pretty good too as we get, it's not looking like it today, but it's normally pretty good. And I've had some success here lately. Numbers of fish and some better quality fish here and there. So it's doable. Catch big fish right now. Just still getting them on the dragon though. It's just not been, this bite here, this anchor bite, it's just not been paying off as of late. You get fish. When I've been dragging even, I've suspended a couple baits, most trips. Suspended in front of me while I drag behind me in my other kayak there, but you've seen the fish I'm getting and they're not very many. It's 10 to 1 probably I'm catching, dragging to suspending. Just catching more, getting a better quality dragging. It'll turn, just hasn't yet. I noticed that years ago, I did a year-long experiment. And I've talked about this experiment before, but I don't know I've ever talked about it on one of these unedited videos, so I don't know how in depth I've went into it before, but I guess I could go into some, we got some time here. I could kind of go a little bit more in depth on the experiment itself, what I was doing, what I had hoped to accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. So this was been 2019, so we're looking at 5 years ago. I completely changed the way I fished. So I had a George Costanza. I know maybe I've told this on the live stream. Anyway, I'm going to tell it again. If this is a rerun, y'all fast forward. But this is a story it changed the way I fished, and I've caught a lot of big fish because of this. But 2019, I did a George Costanza-like experiment. And I say it's George Costanza-like. Seinfeld was one of my favorite TV shows of all time. I've watched every episode, each one of them at least 5 times. Like, I can damn near recite the show. But my favorite episode out of all of them was the one where George Costanza come to the realization that every decision he had ever made in his entire life had been wrong. And if he just did the opposite of what his natural instinct would be to do, it would have to be right. And I have applied that strategy in a bunch of places in my life since then. And so in 2019, I did the George Costanza philosophy as far as how I fish, because prior to that, I had always been somebody, and if you go back and you watch my videos prior to 2019, and some of you have, I got some longtime viewers on this channel. Some of you have heard me say countless times, keep your baits on good structure and keep moving. That used to be my philosophy. Not only something I said on video, but something I preached and practiced in my own fishing. That's how I fished. I would just move it all the time, whether it didn't matter if I was drifting, dragging, even anchor fishing. I'd anchor on a spot, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If I wasn't getting bit, I'd pull anchor and move. And I come to realize that when I was anchor fishing, I was wasting a lot of my day moving. Because in a kayak, now, this is only partially true nowadays because my other kayak I have spot lock. But back then, I was anchoring just like I am today with a physical anchor and a rope. And so I would anchor down on a spot, fish 20, 30 minutes, didn't get bit. Well, now I got to reel up my lines. I got to reel up my anchor. I've got to travel to the next spot, which in a kayak, you're not going fast. Then drop anchor again, rebait, get my lines back out. So you look at how much time I was spending without baits in the water. Like, it was a big percentage of my trip that was just had zero chance of catching a fish because I didn't have any lines in. And so, and that philosophy, though, I mean, it worked because I'd caught a lot of fish and I caught big fish. So it wasn't like what I was doing wasn't working, but I wondered, like, could I do better by doing the opposite? So I decided to spend the entire year, 2019, with the George Costanza philosophy. If every decision I had ever made had been wrong, if I did the opposite, it would have to be right. And I applied that to how I catfished. So my philosophy prior to that had always been keep your baits on good structure and keep moving. And so I thought, okay, instead of continuing to move, I'm going to park my ass and keep myself still. And instead of trying to hit as many spots in a day as possible, I'm going to hit as few spots in a day as possible. So what you end up with is you end up anchoring down on one spot for the duration of the trip. And back in those days, I suspended while I drifted but I didn't suspend while anchored. When I anchored, I would cast my baits out because I wanted to try to fan cast an area to try to spread everything out, right? But for the purpose of this experiment, I thought, well, that's not going to work because I need to do the opposite of that. So instead of fan casting everything out, I'm going to just drop everything down under me. And I set out with the goal of doing this for a year because I wanted to give it the full run, all 4 seasons, all weather conditions, all water conditions. I wanted to give it a full test. You can't do something for one trip and figure out if something works or not. Even if it does work, was it just a fluke? Were you in the right place at the right time? Like, you don't know. You've got to put in the time. You've got to log the hours and do all 4 seasons. That way that you get a bunch of days on the water, different weather patterns, different moon phases, water conditions. That's the only way you're going to learn. And I had my doubts of whether or not I could do it for a full year, especially if it wasn't working out. Like, if I did it for 3 trips, and I could do it 3 trips, hell, I could do it 10 trips. But if they weren't working out, if I wasn't getting bit, or if I wasn't having much success, would I be able to stick with it? I wasn't sure. But lo and behold, the first trip I went out, I caught big fish. We got a fish right here. Okay, he's got it. He's got it, folks. He's got it. Let's reel us in one. It's on the head again. Well, the head or the fly. He ain't gonna be very big though. It's gonna be another dinkity-doo-dah here. Why are we catching the dinkity-doo-dahs today? This will be the 3rd one that we're going to bring in, assuming we bring him in. But I'm ready to catch a big one, folks. This one's another one. He's got the fly under the chin. He's a dink. That's got he didn't eat the fly, he got it up under the chin. So, hell, 2/3 of the fish we got's been because of the fly so far, y'all. I gotta be careful with that head bait. He's about slung it off. Here, come in here like this, fish. I gotta watch that hook, and I don't want to lose my head bait. 2/3 of the fish we've gotten have been foul hooked on the fly. All right, fish, thanks for interrupting my story, you jerk. Let's fix this back. We'll send it back down. He's tore that mouth up. Oh, he's tore it up something terrible, ain't he? Let's hook it through the meat here. We'll go through the back with that one. And I don't like hooking head baits like that so much because you typically get about 1 fish on them like that, whereas running it up under the gill plates and out the nostril, you typically get multiple fish, or at least the option of multiple fish. Back down it goes though. Once the mouth gets tore up like that though, you really don't have any other options but to run it out the back. So back to the story. So if I can get caught up this thing. There we go. Okay, there we go. Must have took that bait longer to get down there to the bottom the way it was falling, being hooked like that. So thankfully though, the first trip I went out, I got a big fish and I caught it a few hours into my trip. Like, it was a time when Normally, I'd fished that spot, I would have put in 30 minutes to it and been gone. But I got that fish, it was like, I don't know, 3-4 hours into the trip, and I got it. And so I was like, okay. That kind of gave me some confidence right off the bat to kind of stick with it. And I'd started it there in the winter, and it seemed like the first few trips, at least in my memory anyway, I was getting fish, getting some bigger fish. And so that kind of just propelled me to, or motivated me to stick with it and give it the full run. And it worked great. The winter, early spring, late spring. As we got into summer though, I was still catching fish. But from the spawn in June up through now, this time of year, early mid-September, I didn't do as well with that method as what I had done in years past anyway, being on the move. And so once we got into fall, later fall, there, October, November, the bite picked back up again. And so since then, I've tested that a little more, but I mean, it wasn't like a one-time thing. Like, I mean, I did it for the full year. And I've tested it some in years since then, but again, it kind of just reiterates what I learned when I did it that year, of that in the summer months, early fall, you kind of need to be moving. You'll catch fish either way, but you're going to do better if you're moving. And so that year-long experiment, it taught me a lot. And it changed the way I fish, honestly. Not that what I was doing prior to that, not that what I was doing was wrong. I mean, again, I had caught a bunch of fish. You go out and you hit 6 different spots in a day. Well, you know, if fish are there on one of them spots, you're probably going to catch them. But I ended up doing so much better with running the experiment because, and 2019 was probably the best year of fishing I ever had, in honesty. I got my PB blue that year, at least up to this point. Got a bunch of fish, got a bunch of flatheads. Like, I had a really good year, and it changed the way I fish because it becomes about efficiency. Now, you can't just anchor on a spot for hours at any random place. Like, it needs to be a spot that you have a reasonable expectation that fish are either it needs to be a place that fish are going to move through, honestly. If you go to a place where fish might be stacked up, like let's say maybe you found a rock pile or a sunken tree, some object, a place that might hold fish in your mind. You know, imagine that. It's a place that you might see fish piled up. If fish are there during the however many hours you're going to anchor on that spot, great. You're probably going to catch them. Whether they're biting when you get there or not, you leave baits there in their face long enough, at some point they're going to turn on and you're going to catch them. But what if there's not fish there? Maybe that rock pile, they're not there at the time, or that tree, they're not there. Well, you can't really catch fish that ain't there. You know what I mean? Like, you can't catch what ain't there. And why fish will be on a rock pile or a tree at one day and not the next, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Sometimes they are, sometimes they ain't. And so places like that, I don't really feel are the best places to do the type of fishing that I'm talking about, where you're anchoring down on a spot for the duration of your trip. Because if you're there on a day where they're not, you've wasted a day. But places where fish are going to move through, places like a creek mouth. It's probably my favorite type of place to do this style of fishing. A deep point like we're doing today, probably my second favorite type of place to do this style of fishing. When you're setting up on a place where fish are going to move through, it becomes a matter of time. I know fish are going to work up on this point. We've seen bait out there and whatnot flipping around and stuff this morning, and I know fish are going to work back up into this creek over here. We're set up in a place to take advantage both ways. We may also get some fish that are kind of working around the main channel here as well. So even if fish aren't here when we first anchor down and get here in the morning or afternoon, whenever it is you're fishing, there's a reasonable expectation that at some point, if you fish that spot long enough, fish are going to pass through. And so then it becomes less about timing a bite and more so about just logging hours. Now, if you do get on a bite and the weather and water conditions stay the same, if you can fish multiple days, that bite will probably continue around that time period until something changes. Like if, let's say fish are working up on this point at 10 a.m. and you figure that out. Let's say we're out here, let's say we're fishing today, and all of a sudden around 9:30, 10 o'clock this morning, the bite turns on. Well, tomorrow, if we come back out here and we fished around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and the weather and water conditions were the same, chances are them fish are going to be feeding around the same time period. And that will happen until such a time that something changes. So you can kind of pattern it that way. But if you focus on, and you all know this, regular viewers, I try to focus on dawn and dusk just because those are good time periods to fish. Those low light periods, you oftentimes get more fish feeding during those times. You log hours during those time periods, you're going to have good opportunities to get fish movements. So put yourself in places where you expect them to pass through. We got one passing through right now on this rod here he's hitting. You better get on with it, fish. You've been at it 5 seconds. I'm already sick of you now. He's going to mess that bait up. They just let it go then. Let's check it. It wasn't. That's another one there we don't want. We want us a whopper today. Oh, hell, he ran us over there and got us wrapped up in our other line. I'm glad we checked it. I'm going to go ahead and switch this bait out too while I'm at it. What did he do now? Oh, heck, y'all. You know what you have done? When you drop that line down right then, you got it hung here on the transducer. There it goes. Boy, y'all got problems today. Let's cut another bait. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and switch out that head bait too. It's probably been over 30 minutes, I'd say. I like to keep baits a little bit more fresh when we're only fishing 2 rods. And with them baits getting kind of, that head, it was already messed up from the other one. But when you're fishing 2 rods, you don't have a ton of scent getting out there. I feel like baits need to be in better condition. If we got 4 rods, or especially the people that fish a gazillion rods, you can leave a bait out there all day. till it gets eaten. In our situation, I want to be able to keep a fresh bait on. Watch this. You squeeze this bait, you see how the blood kind of, like there's still blood and oil in there. But there's a whole lot more blood and oil right there, you know what I mean? Like you can see the difference easily. And the fish can taste the difference easily. Let's drop this down. We'll reel up our head, switch it out. I want y'all to conjure us up a big one. It could happen at any time. I don't know. That's the thing, and I've talked about this in numerous other videos too, but since we're talking about this year-long experiment and whatnot, I'll go a little bit more into it. But, you know, fish could eat at any hour of the day. I talk about dawn and dusk all the time, but those are known as kind of feeding windows, but it don't mean that that's the only feeding window. Fish will eat. There's some fish on this body of water, every body of water, eating at every hour of the day. Now, you may not be there when it's happening, but somewhere there's fish eating right now. There'll be fish eating 2 hours from now, 3 hours from now, 6 hours from now, somewhere. But it seems like when you get a feeding window, you'll have a large number of fish turn on. And they'll turn on, even, you see this in tournament situations, where everybody will start submitting fish. like the bite will turn on all over the lake or the river around the same time. But, you know, it could happen at any hour of the day. So it kind of becomes about logging hours. I'm going to put this head bait in that chunk back here, back in the cooler, just in case we end up needing it. But it becomes more about logging hours. The more time, kind of the reverse, really, of what I used to say when I would say, keep your baits on good structure and keep moving. It's kind of, now it's keep your baits on good structure and leave them there as long as possible. And if you do that, it's a matter of time. You can't fish a point like this. I don't know when big fish will move up on this point. I hope that's going to happen this morning, but I don't know. But I promise you, if you fish this point enough, it will happen. And we've caught big fish here before in past. I got videos. It's documented on video like it's happened. And it's like that with a lot of places, that it becomes a matter of logging hours. But you're going to have to be patient if you're going to fish like that. And I struggled with this. It became easier as time went on, and I got confidence in the technique. But in the beginning, when you're used to moving all the time, even when you're anchor fishing, you're used to pulling anchor after 30 minutes without getting a bite. It's hard to set somewhere for 2 or 3 hours and not get bit. It's hard. You got to teach yourself to be patient. And if you can do that, it will pay off in the long run, as long as you can read a map and kind of understand how fish are going to move and know where to set yourself up at. It'll pay off. But I think a lot of people have trouble with just sitting still. Got to be patient. But it's been amazing places that I have fished where prior to 2019, I would have put in 30 minutes, not gotten bit, moved on. That same spot that I would have moved on from 2.5 hours into the trip, all of a sudden, you'll get this wave of activity where you've got rods going down pretty much continuously for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then they're gone. That was your feeding window. That's when you had a pack of fish working through, and you were there at the time they were working through. and you got bit. Now, you know, you may have to sit on a spot for 6 hours, 8 hours, or longer to experience that 15, 20-minute window. On a good day, hell, it might last an hour. Maybe if it's a real active day, you get fish working through from start to finish of your trip. Every day is different. But there are a lot of times where there's been a lot of trips for me where I don't fish long hours now. I pretty much do 3-4 hour trips. Try to structure them around dawn and sunset. But there's been a lot of trips where I've put in 5, 6, 7 hours on a spot, and all of my action will come in a 15-minute time period. You know, you get a slow day, those fish are still going to eat, but they may not eat very long. And it's about being there when they're eating. But when you are sitting on a spot for the duration of your trip, a place that fish are going to move through, if that bite happens, if that 15-minute window on that particular slow day, if it happens while you are anchored down there, you're going to get those fish. Now, you take that same day, if you are hopping spot to spot, what if that window of time happens while you don't have baits in the water? Maybe you're moving to the next spot. Well, you've missed out on it. Now, I know what you're going to say is, well, maybe you get to the other spot and the bite's on there. Maybe it is. Maybe it ain't. And so over the course of 2019, I ran that experiment the full year. I just developed a lot of confidence in it. And I caught enough big fish. Caught a lot of big fish that year. And that year I fished mostly 3 rods. I think I might have went to 4. No, I didn't, because I got the Hobie. I was in my Hobie Outback to start the year. And then I got the Hobie Pro Angler, but I was still anchor fishing. Like with an actual anchor. I hadn't got the bow mount with spot lock yet. So I was fishing with 3 rods back then. And caught a bunch of fish, man. I got a bunch of big fish. And so I had a really good year, and it changed me. It changed how I fish. Like the George Costanza philosophy, if everything I'd ever done had been wrong, doing the opposite would have to be right. It really worked out in that instance. Because I don't feel like what I had been doing prior to that was wrong, but it wasn't the most right necessarily. Like in a kayak, and this is true in a boat too, but more so in a kayak because of how inefficient the platform is. When you're in a kayak, I don't care if you got a motor or not, you can only go so fast. And so a lot of your day is going to be spent, a lot of my time is just, you take coming out here this morning. How long did it take me to get out here? From the launch to out here anchor down, 20 minutes probably. I'll spend another 20 minutes pulling anchor and getting back today. That's 40 minutes of my day traveling on the water, physically on the water without lines in, with zero chance of catching a fish down there. So fishing in such a way that allows you to keep baits in for a longer period of time in a productive area, well, it just makes sense that you're going to catch more fish. And, and it took I wanted to do a year-long experiment just to confirm that, but I had been thinking it for a while, like, man, what I do? Pull an anchor every 30 minutes or so, changing spots, like, man, it's inefficient. If I go out and fish 6 hours when I was doing that, hell, I might lose an hour or more in fishing time just without lines in. And you multiply that hour by however many trips you fish in a year. That's a lot of hours that could be spent with baits on a productive spot. And I promise you, man, if you can add an extra 50 hours a year, 100 hours a year with baits in an area that you're expecting fish to move through, you can't not get bit in that extra 50 to 100. Now, on an individual day, sure, it may not pan out. That extra 15, 20 minutes you get on a particular trip, it may not work. There may not be any extra fish there during that time. But over the course of the year, man, it's just so many extra hours. It's just statistically impossible not to get some extra fish. So it changed the way I approach things. It changed my philosophy. Not only did it change it from a perspective of how I fish, but it changed it from my enjoyment of fishing too, because I was having so much fun. I liked suspending before that anyway. I did a lot of suspend drifting. I'd get out main channel ledges there and just drift. And I caught a lot of fish doing that. It was fun. But now I was able to apply that while anchored. And with just the number of fish caught and the size of fish caught, that's why I like suspending so much now. It's like it's all I want to do when I go catfishing. But it's not, and this is what I learned. One of the things I learned during that year-long experiment, that this time of year, doing this technique didn't pan out as well as it did in the other months of the year. It's about 3 months where really where I expect to do better dragging, moving, or drifting I can suspend if I got current. But I feel like the bait, I don't think it's so much, it just needs to be moving. I feel like those fish maybe it's what they're feeding on. Maybe it's because the water's so warm, metabolism's high, but I feel like they're looking for an actively moving bait. And that's what it's going to take to trigger a bite. More so this time of year than in some of the other times of year. That's my thought on it anyway, okay? That's my thought. But I just know when I did that experiment for the year, it turned out to be my best year of fishing ever. And since then, I've obviously mixed things up. I do this technique sometimes. Other times I'll drag. Other times I'll drift. I mix it up a little bit more now, but it changed me, man. It changed the way I fish. And I'd encourage you to do that too. Not necessarily that experiment. Let me give me a swig of water. But just experimenting in general. The YouTube is a big help. I wish YouTube had been around when I got started catfishing, because I could have saved myself a lot of time with the trial and error stuff I did that just was wrong. It didn't work. Just back in those days, you didn't have social media, you didn't have YouTube, you had forums. You had the Brotherhood of Catfishing, the BOC, as it was called, a forum. That was all you had back then. Everything else kind of through trial and error. But I would still encourage you today. You can learn a lot from YouTube, watching how other people fish, but still, I don't know everything. None of these other YouTubers you're watching, they don't know everything. There's still new stuff being found out and learned all the time. So if there's an idea you have, get out and try it. And try it for a long period of time. Don't do it a day. Unless, if you get out there and you do something for one day and you realize, well, this will never work, and like you find a good reason why it won't work. Maybe there's a flaw in your rig, or you know, you had an idea and then you get out there and you're like, oh, well, this just isn't practical now because of whatever reason. That's one thing. But if everything works as far as your rig and your bait and all that, but maybe you just don't get any fish that day, or as many fish as what you'd hoped for that day, that don't mean it don't work. Maybe it was just a bad day or the wrong time or something. So it's worth trying again. But I would encourage you to, when you're doing an experiment like that, give it a full run. Like, give it a long time, multiple trips to figure out before you just cast it aside. Because it may just be a situation where you put in, you do it for a few months, and all of a sudden something clicks, and you're like, oh, should have been doing this all along. I've done all kinds of experiments through the years. Bait experiments, putting two baits side by side for periods of time. Like that's how I know the best baits for me to use during the specific times of the year. I didn't come at it at random. I didn't figure it out by watching other YouTubers. I figured it out because for, you know, an entire summer, I put skipjack right next to bluegill every trip out, and figured out, look, okay, well, I'm catching 8 fish on skipjack to every 1 on bluegill, and the quality's much better on skipjack than the bluegill. So like, I know when I say, and people argue with me about this, I've had it happen, but they say, Justin, why don't you use bluegill? Bluegill's a great bait. Maybe it is where you're at, but just my own personal experience here, I can tell you, man, skipjack's going to outperform bluegill most days. If me and you, if we in a competition, maybe we fishing against each other for a week, and we're in the same spot, and you're using bluegill and I'm using skipjack, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to bet the farm on myself. Because I know just from personal experience that skipjack outperforms bluegill most of the time. So on an individual day, sure, maybe they have a taste for bluegill on that day, and maybe you beat me on that one day. But if we were running that experiment for a week or a month or all year, I'm going to bet the farm because I know I've done it. I've done it myself. I know these things because I've put them through the paces on my own. And doing that yourself, doing those kind of experiments yourself, not only will teach you what you need to be doing on your particular body of water, but it will also build confidence. So that when you are having days where the bite's not going well, and you're going to have those days no matter what technique you're doing or where you're at, you'll have the confidence to stick with it. Because you will have been there and done that before and have caught fish before. Like I said, you know, man, I've been on trips where I've logged 5-6 hours on a spot, and all of my fish come in a 15-minute window toward the end of a trip. And so now, if I go out and I'm fishing an area, and you know, let's say I've this spot here, I've committed to it for the morning. If we go a couple hours and I'm not getting bit, I'm antsy, you know, because I want to get bit, especially if I'm filming a video. But it don't really necessarily break my confidence, like, oh, this is, you know, this technique don't work, or this spot's no good. Like, no, it's just a matter of time. And so you'll develop that confidence in yourself and in your abilities by just doing those kind of experiments. You can learn a lot from YouTube, but every body of water is a bit different. And, you know, I mean, if you're fishing a body of water where you've got several YouTube, I mean, if somebody wanted to come here to the Tennessee River here in East Tennessee, this portion of it, you know, we got so many YouTubers around here. Like, you could watch me and some of the other guys and figure out where you need to go and when just by watching our videos. But if you're on a body of water maybe there's not a lot of videos. Maybe there's not a lot of YouTubers. Maybe there's not a lot of catfishermen on your particular. And boy, if there's not a lot of catfishermen where you're at, consider yourself lucky these days. The sport's got so popular. Everywhere you go just gets pounded. But maybe there's not a lot of information where you're at. Maybe you're going to have to, you can take what you learn on YouTube, techniques, rigs, stuff like that, but you may have to put in the time on your own to figure out your body of water as far as what baits are going to work, what technique's going to be best, when and where it's going to be best. Like, you're going to have to put in some of the legwork on your own on that. And when you do get it dialed in and figured out, and you will, it's a matter of putting the time in. But when you do, and you've done it on your own, it's a lot more rewarding. I think you'll feel more accomplished. You'll feel more confident. I mean, anybody can, if I'm filming a video and there's a big landmark on the screen somewhere and I'm catching fish there, well, anybody can look at that and say, oh, okay, I know where that spot is. I'm going to go fish that spot. And maybe you have success. Maybe you go fish it after me or another YouTuber fishes there and you catch fish too. And you're going to have fun, sure, because you're catching fish. But when you leave the water that day, aside from just the fun of having caught fish, are you going to feel accomplished? Are you going to feel smarter? Are you going to feel like you're going to be able to go out and apply that the next time you go out on the next spot? Probably not. But when you break down a body of water on your own and you figure out what it takes to catch fish and when and where, and you're able to apply that both there and other places you go and have success, it's more, I think it's more rewarding. It makes you feel more confident. So, and I feel like, I'm not tooting my own horn here or nothing, I don't want to be boasting, but what I do, I mean, I have the ability to all these places we've been for our tournament trail. Most of them I've never been to before prior to getting, and normally these tournaments I'll go early, pre-fish a little bit, try to figure out a pattern, a launch site, a place I want to use. But most of these tournament locations I've never been to before. I've caught fish at all of them. I've yet to go somewhere new and get skunked. Like, I'm going to catch some fish. You give me 2 or 3 days on a new body of water, I'm going to figure it out. Now, I may not catch a lot of fish. I may not catch the biggest fish. But I'm going to catch something. Because I'm going to take what I've learned and apply it there. And every body of water's different. I mean, you go to Alabama last week, man. I got fish the one day, that one afternoon. Got some big fish. Next morning session, hit a different area, and one small fish to show for it. Like, it didn't pan out. But because I did 2 sessions, I feel pretty good now about going in the tournament. I would have liked to have had a little bit more time. But, you just get to a point with your experience and your knowledge that you can go to a different body of water you've never been to before, open up a lake map and think, okay, I should be able to catch fish here, 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 and doing this, and try different things. And if you got enough time, if you got 2 or 3 days that you can fish a place and try those different things in different places, you're probably going to catch them. If I was just showing up to these tournaments and winging it and not pre-fishing, I did that one this year actually. Up there in Kentucky. The name of the town is escaping me at the moment. Why don't my memory work? I cashed in this tournament, and I cannot for the life of me think of the name of the damn town. It was in Kentucky. It was on the Ohio River. The town had sponsored the tournament. My brain is not functioning. Why can't I think? I got a trophy. I just set up my desk. I got a new desk here recently. And I put that trophy from the Kentucky tournament on my desk, on that shelf. It's got the name of the town on it. This ain't even a brain fart. This is a brain diarrhea session here. I can't think of it. But nevertheless, where I was going with it, before my brain just shut down, that tournament up there in Kentucky on the Ohio River, I had never fished there before. I fished the Ohio River last year in Rising Sun, Indiana, that stretch. But the stretch we were on for this Kentucky tournament, I had never been there before. Didn't really know what to expect. Had never been in that town before. And so I opened up a map the day before the tournament. And because I wasn't going to go to the tournament. That's why I hadn't pre-fished. I wasn't going to go. And the tournament director guilted me into it. So I show up the night before. I'd picked me out a ramp. I looked at the map. I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And man, 8-hour tournament, I struggled about 7 hours of it. And the fish I got wasn't very big. I think I got 3 fish total, maybe 4, 3 or 4 fish total in 8 hours. But I got second place. I got what I needed out of it to cash a check. But that was just me showing up and winging it. Most of these tournaments, I try to at least, do a couple practice sessions and try to figure out a pattern of some kind. But, regardless, and again, I ain't trying to boast or toot my own horn or anything. I'm speaking facts. With the knowledge and experience I've gained doing this for a long period of time, I can now go to new bodies of water and feel like I have a reasonable expectation of catching fish there. Now, am I going to win every tournament I go to? No. Am I going to cash? No. But I'm not going to show up and get skunked. And I may go to Alabama this coming weekend and get skunked. Who knows? It's going to happen at some point. But I'm not going to skunk. If I go somewhere and fish 3 or 4 days, I'm not going to skunk all 3 or 4 days. And so I'm not trying to boast about myself. I'm speaking, from your perspective. If you put in the time and learn how to fish an area, you're going to be able to apply that everywhere. Like this fish here, he's learned how to eat a bait, and I don't think we want him though. I don't think we want that one. He's back on it again, though. I fear he's got it. He does not have it. Well, we need to rehook that bait. Okay. All right, let's send that back down. But anyway, I'm going to cap off this story, but the point I'm trying to make is you can learn a lot from YouTube, but you got to learn, as this other rod over here gets it. I'm going to put my sunglasses on. That one over there tap might have been the same fish tapping it. Let me find my sunglasses. You can learn a lot from YouTube, but you can't learn everything from YouTube. You're going to have to put time in on the water, learn your body of water. You also got to learn you got to learn what works best for you, right? Like, some of you, maybe you like fishing like I do. You got patience. You like to anchor down on a spot like this, and you can sit there and twiddle thumbs, play Candy Crush, whatever it takes until that fish bites. Some of you, though, may absolutely be repulsed by the thought of this. Like, you need to be doing something. You need to be active. You need to be moving. That's okay, too. Is this fish right here? I think he's got it, buddy. He's got it now. Okay. That one there, I think, is going to be a solid hookup. We had a couple musical rods here. Finally here, get a solid hookup. Is he going to be any count, though? I don't think he's going to be he ain't going to be no monster. Did you see that right there? I don't know what that was. Something come up right there in front of us. I don't know if he was cheering us on or laughing at us. I think it's going to be a fun sizer, or yeah, another fun size length. The real skinny. Larger dink, smaller fun size. We've got one over here now. We're doubled. Let's put that one back. We're doubled. We're doubled. We've got some fish working through. If y'all was worth a damn, you'd have grabbed this other rod. Instead, we got one just sitting over here waiting on us to be unhooked. We could have 30 more fish moving through right now. We ain't got a bait down there to be able to catch them with. They finally pull my hood off my head here. Yeah, buddy, here we go. We got us a double. It took a little while. We got it going on here. Okay, now this one got the fly, and he's got it in the mouth. He's not foul hooked, folks. This one here ate that fly. I'm gonna try to get rid of him first so we can drop that head bait back down. He's about knocked it off the hook, looks like, so if we ain't careful, we'll lose that head bait. We ain't got much more. Well, as far as the fresh skipjack heads go, now I do have some white bass in there too. Quit it, fish. Now you need to act like somebody. Okay. Yeah, buddy, that nair ate it in the mouth. You have that hook. Well, you hooked yourself in the mouth twice with that thing, fish. Okay. Let's hold you up there, you old skinny devil. These fish have been skinny today. I want to rehook this bait and drop it down again before we land our other one here. We got 2 fish for sure working through. They're probably not alone. There could be more. I want to get a bait back down there as quick as we can. When you get doubles like this, I mean, we're getting doubles because we got 2 baits down. If we had 4 lines down, we might have 4 fish on right now, potentially. I've tripled and quadrupled before. But can't catch them if you ain't got a bait down there, can you? What the hell is this thing? Is that a spider web, something? I feel like I've had that thing hooked to me 3 or 4 times. Okay, now let's see if we can get a hold of this. And this one here is a smidge bigger than the other one. Fun size length with a skinny body. He's like Jared after he ate the Subway sandwiches. They say carbs are bad for you, man. But that's all you get at Subway's, the bread. So I don't know how Jared lost all that weight. I think it was a hoax. Oh, come here, fish. I'm gonna hold this one up to the front camera and show you how long he is for how skinny he is. If I can get hold of him. Okay, come on in. There we go. Yeah, we'll have to put a new bait on that one. He's thrown it off. Yeah, this fish, y'all, I mean, skinny old thing. Skinny fish right there. Oh. Well, they're hell-bent on tearing that glove up today, ain't they? That was another one that about tore the thumb off that thing. Let's get into the bait cut real quick. Man, I'm getting a little bit more optimistic here. Got these fish working through. Maybe they're a little late this morning. The skipjack bite, so yesterday morning, you know, I'd went out and I got on the water. It was about sunrise, a little after. And it was dead out there, man. There wasn't nothing happening. The few baits I got was later in the morning, and I thought, well, maybe it's part of the weather, the front or whatever. Kind of got things shut down a little bit, so maybe it's, if that's true, maybe these cats are going to turn on a little bit later. I just don't, you know. And again, this goes back to the point I was going to try to make before I wrapped up this part of my long-winded spiel that y'all mostly don't care about, I'm sure. But at this stage of my life, I just can't hardly sit in a kayak for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. I just can't do it. Tournament days, obviously 8-hour tournaments, you gotta kind of grind it out. But usually after a tournament, I'll take a day or two off. I definitely can't go out like I used to and fish, sit in a kayak for 8 hours today and then go do it again for the next 3 or 4 days. I can't do that anymore. So part of how I have kind of structured my time in the kayak, being around dawn and dusk, is to try to use the limited hours that I'm going to sit and keep it at more time periods that are just historically known to be productive. And that's panned out for me. That works out for me. Now, if you're somebody, you want to go out and maybe you've got the time or the desire, the ability, physical ability to sit for longer periods of time, the more time you put in on these places, the more success you're going to have. But where I was trying to put a bow on it, I guess, was just to say that you can only get so far with YouTube. Like, you gotta find your own way. You know, I mean, you can watch me, you can watch other people on YouTube, you can emulate what we do and probably have some success with it. But you've got to figure out what you enjoy doing and what you have the most confidence in. If you're somebody that just can't sit still, you're not going to enjoy doing what I'm doing. Like, you're not going to have fun with it, because there's going to be a lot of times where you're just bored, or you just feel like you got to be doing something, and if we're just sitting here, hell, there's nothing to do. So you need to find a technique that's more active, that's more going to keep you occupied. And you take somebody like me. Bumping is a very popular catfish technique. A lot of people bump. Some of my friends, Ryan, Kayak Mike, they've got the more powerful motors on their kayaks, and they're getting up below the hydros and the dams there and bumping below the dams. and they're having a damn good time doing it. Me personally, and I've not tried bumping per se, but I've done some fair amount of vertical jigging. I've got videos on my channel where I tried that experiment years ago. Vertical jigging for flatheads, trying to get down like rocky crevices and stuff. And that's real fun when you hook a fish like that, real fun. But I don't have, I say I don't have the patience. Well, I really do. It's a different kind of patience you have to do that for a long period of time without getting bit before you do. Kind of the same way I can sit here a long period of time without getting bit. I have patience for that. But to go a long period of time vertical jigging, bouncing it, I don't have the patience. And so that technique, even though it's productive, even though you can catch fish doing that, same way with like bumping below the dams, productive technique and a lot of fun when you catch them. At least, you know, the guys that do it, they have a lot of fun doing it. For me personally, it's not the best technique because I don't have a desire to stick with it, to sit there and do that for a long period of time without getting bit. So, you know, that's where it goes back to having to find your own way. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what makes you happy, what you're going to enjoy doing. Because I promise you, if you don't enjoy doing something, if you come out here and say you're doing this technique right here, right? And you're just having a lights out day, man. From the time you drop baits down to the time you leave, you're reeling in one fish after another. Well, you're going to have fun that day, right? Even if you don't necessarily like sitting around, if you're reeling in fish nonstop, like you're going to be entertained. Your time's going to go by quickly. But most of the days you're going to fish are not going to be like that. I wish they were, but most of them aren't. Most of the time, as we get another little tap right there, most of the time you're going to have a fair amount of downtime on a trip where you're fishing like I'm doing today. If you're not having fun, you are not going to stick with it. And so even if whatever it is you're enjoying doing, the technique, even if it's not the most productive on that body of water or that particular time period, you're still probably going to be better off doing it than trying to do something you don't want to do. I mean, if you're in a tournament, you need to grind, you need to do whatever you need to do to catch fish. But if you're just out on fun fishing, in my opinion, it's better to do something that you like doing, enjoy your time out on the water, and have the fish that you catch just kind of be a bonus, versus doing something you don't want to do and that you don't enjoy doing just to try to get the most number of fish. Because if it don't work out or you don't get as many fish as what you had hoped, then you've wasted a day doing something you don't want to do. And we don't have a lot of days on this earth, people. You know, and the older we get, the more we're running out. So try to spend, and this is true of anything in life. This ain't just fishing philosophy here. This is life advice here. Write this down, kids. Try to spend as many days as possible doing what you love to do, doing what you enjoy, because we don't get very many. We really don't. In the grand scheme of how long planet Earth has been around, we just don't get a lot. We don't get a lot of days. The days seem long, but the years fly by, the old saying. Like, you gotta make the most of your time. And most of you out there have jobs. I'm fortunate I get to do this YouTube crap as a job right now in the last few years. And so I get to do a job that I like. Statistically, though, most people, and I'd heard a statistic once upon a time that was 80%. I don't know the truth to it, but that's what's in my mind. That's what I had heard as we got another fish working here. He's on that rod tip. He's after that bait, man. He seems like he's swimming toward that other. I don't want to have these lines tangled up again over here. Where's he at? My gosh, he swam. He was swimming off with it. Dropped it, thankfully. Danged old fish. But where I was going with that is most people have jobs they hate. 80% is the statistic in my head. 80% of people have a job they don't like. Most people, you do a job, you're working full time, you're working 40 plus hours a week. A lot of you's out there pulling overtime at that job you don't like. And of course, we're sleeping part of our day. Even if you're somebody, you don't get to sleep as much as you need to, you still got to, the human body requires sleep. You got to sleep some. So part of our time on this earth is spent sleeping. If you sleep as much as you should, 8 hours a day, then 1/3 of our life is spent in bed. Look at the number of hours that a person works, damn near another 1/3 of it's gone just in doing crap we don't want to do at a job. So when you do have free time, make sure you're doing something that you like, that you enjoy, that you want to do. Because we just don't have that much time, people. We just don't. There's just not that much time. And you know how it is. You're working a job you hate. You probably got family commitments and, other organizations, clubs, churches, whatever else that you've made commitments to. Like, it's hard to find time for yourself sometimes. Again, I'm very fortunate in what I do that I'm able to, but a lot of it, before I did YouTube as this job, I had a job I hated that took up a lot of time. And so I understand that. I understand what it's like to not have much time for yourself. And so, try to spend as much as you can doing something that makes you happy. Now, I don't know, people live their lives like we're never going to die. I'm guilty of it. I spent 10 minutes last night being pissed off at that girl at Subway because I was choking down crunchy bread with barely any meat on it. That girl, I asked for mayonnaise on the sandwich. She barely put any mayonnaise on there. Hell, an extra little bit of mayonnaise would have helped me choke down that dry bread. But, in the grand scheme of life, does me paying $12 for a sandwich of bread on bread, is that the end of the world? No. But boy, in the moment, we can sure get caught up in things. I'm guilty as anybody, man. Things like that just set me off all the time. But in the grand scheme of life, like when you look at how little time we have, we should all be focused on the bigger picture of just enjoying the time we have. Just enjoy the time we have with who we have, because we're going to die, they're going to die. This fish, buddy, he's going to wish he was dead when he gets embarrassed by being caught on this video. He's got it too. We got us another one. It's another small. We were getting more fish than what I anticipated getting today, but we just can't get any quality. We'll get more quality than this bass fisherman over here that's pulled up on this point. I hope he goes the other way. The whole damn lake, he's going to find one person fishing here and get within earshot of them. He's got his jacket on too, though, by God. I'm telling you, a little chilly this morning, folks. Okay, that one there ate the chunk. It's a smaller fish again, though. Y'all keep catching the small ones. I brought you out here to catch big ones, and I can't get you to do it. I don't know who the hell idea it was to come out here and do a technique that we know ain't working well right now. But here we are. That hook's going the wrong way. Nope. Don't you put it in me, fish. Now I'm trying to get you unhooked. There you go, fish. Yeah, look at him peeing. Did you see him peeing all over us there? Get out of here, you nasty old thing. You like Jared from the subway. Old fish. Did you see that? Damned old Jared. I bet you he's had a hard time in jail, don't you think? People like him, fortunately, I ain't never been to prison. And I hope I never go to prison. But you hear stories of what happens to them people the kind of people that old Jared from Subway is. You hear stories about people like him and what happens to them in the pokey. And so, I bet he's had a hard time up in there. I wonder too, like Subway, because he was the face of Subway for a long time. I mean, I remember seeing them commercials with him. I remember, hell, Subway was doing something at the Super Bowl one year, and they had old Jared out there at the damn Super Bowl. I can't remember how long ago that's been. But I bet you, whoever the executive was, somebody in a suit there at Subway, corporate office somewhere, I bet you they got canned after that. You know what I mean? Like if you hire somebody as the face of your company and he turns out to be a pervert and goes to prison for it. If you're the person that made the decision to bring him in, like you're probably going to get fired. And probably should for not doing your due diligence. I don't know if Jared's going to be in there the rest of his life or a certain amount of time. I don't know how all that works. I don't remember exactly. I remember him getting busted, and it was like a news story, but I think it was one of them situations where I kind of read the headline and didn't read the full report. If I did, I can't remember, but hell, I can't even remember that name of the town in Kentucky we went to just a few months ago. I don't know why I can't remember the name of that damn town in Kentucky. We was just there just a few months ago. They sponsored the tournament. That's why we were there when we were there. It was a terrible time to have that tournament there because the fishing was so much better other places, and that section of the Ohio River is not particularly good anyway. But I can't remember it. I said I was never going back to the Ohio River after that. I guess I've blocked it from memory. That's the only thing I can figure. I have blocked it from memory. This airplane man comes over. I wish this bass fisherman over here would go on. How is it that there's two people? I'm filming this on a Monday. There's two of us on the water, and both of us in earshot of each other, fishing for completely different species of fish. Like, yeah, I mean, is this the only point on... He's got a boat. He can go anywhere. Like, I promise you this ain't the only point on this body of water that's worth a damn for bass. Hopefully he'll be like all the others, though, and fish a spot for 5 minutes and then drive 30 minutes down the lake to the next spot. You want to talk about guys who are inefficient. I think bass fishermen are pretty inefficient. When they make their long runs like they do, going spot to spot, fish a place for 5 minutes, make a 15-minute run, fish there 5 minutes, 15-minute run, burning all that fuel, and yet they spend all day just riding around. I think that's probably what part of them like to do. It ain't even about the fishing, it's just about riding around the boat all day. I guess if you're going 70 miles an hour down through here, it probably is fun till you hit a log. I will admit, and this is terrible of me to say, but I think if some of you all are being honest, you'll admit it too. When one of those videos comes up on social media where a bass fisherman hit a log or something, or they damage their boat motor, I will admit I enjoy that a little too much. Because I've wished that on so many people, and then when I see it happen, there's part of me in my mind that kind of takes credit for it a little bit. Now, I know that's terrible to say. It makes me sound like an awful human being, and, well, I am. But at least I own it. Some of y'all out there wish those same bad things on people, but you'll sit here in my comment box and act all high and mighty like your duty don't stink. You know damn well it does. All them high and mighty, high moral people, they plague the comment boxes, both YouTube, social media, everywhere. I'm a relatively bad person, and I own that. I think bad things about people. If somebody pisses me off, I'm probably going to wish bad stuff on them. I don't even have a desire to change that. What the hell is this right here going on? Boy, something was kicking around right here beside us. Gone now. I've got friends, though, they at least pretend to be better people than me. You get somebody like Kevin from Palmetto Cats. He's a good dude. Very religious, and somebody crosses him, pisses him off, he don't wish bad things on them. He'll pray for them. He'll try to ask God to get them to be better, and pray for himself to try to handle the situation better and whatnot. And that's a good way to be. It's a real good way to be, but it ain't for me. Somebody crosses me, buddy, I'm wishing all kinds of evil on them. I don't feel bad about it either. They say, karma comes back on you. You shouldn't do that because it'll come back on you. I'm going to take my chances. Because if somebody pisses me off, I'm going to take my chances something bad's going to happen to me because I want something bad to happen to them. I ain't wishing nothing bad on this fella, but I do wish he'd get the hell on. He's not interfering with me. I'm not interfering with him. But I don't know why we have to be in earshot of each other on a lake this big, on a body of water this big, when there's two of us out here. Literally 2 people today. It's a Monday. It's a Monday morning. I ain't seen him catch a damn thing either. You'd think he'd be embarrassed to be over here fishing beside me. We've done reeled in one since he got over here. You'd think he'd be embarrassed to sit here and get skunked in front of us. You'd think he'd rather go get skunked somewhere else. He ain't got no stickers on his boat there. That's why he ain't no good. All the professional fishermen got their boats wrapped. He ain't professional. I had this cold front. I don't know if it messed up the bass too or not. I would like to do some ultralight fishing this week. I'm probably going to I've got to make another bait run. You know, of me not being able to catch much yesterday and not fishing tomorrow because the fence guy coming and my doctor's appointment, I got to get some more bait either tomorrow afternoon. Oh, good, he's getting the hell out of here. Good. How long did he fish? 5 minutes? Made 10 casts. Let's see where he's going. Is he just running over here? I guess he's just going to run right over here. He's idling along. You'd think he'd just fish his way around the bank. As quick as he's moving, he could about fished his way around the bank than cranking up the outboard to go over there. Yeah, he's getting right back up. I don't understand these people. Because that section of the bank over there is better than the section of the bank he just passed that he didn't catch no fish on. Yeah, I don't get them. I don't understand them. But anyway, I've got to make a bait run either tomorrow afternoon, if everything works out, or Wednesday morning. And I'm probably, if the wind ain't up, I'm probably going to take my ultralight because I'm in the mood. I don't know what the wind report's supposed to be like here. I know it's supposed to be bad in Alabama this week, but I didn't really look around here. And then Friday, before I drive down to Alabama, and what I'm going to do, get out Friday morning, catch some bait. Weather permitting, of course. If weather ain't permitting, I'll get out Thursday evening. But I want to get bait as fresh as possible. Catch me some bait Friday morning. Drive down midday to Alabama. It's about 3.5, 4 hours to Wheeler. It's a pretty reasonable drive. We got to do our check-in there for the tournament where they'll do our board check, make sure that's on the up and up, and give us our tournament identifier and all that, and then, fish tournament there on Saturday. So I'm probably going to take my ultralight rod, one or both of those bait trips. I want to do I've got some stuff I want to do. You know, I'm in the mood for carp fishing. I'm in the mood to do this style of catfishing. Like, I got a lot of fishing I want to do. Whatever I pick for the day, that's what I do. This channel's kind of founded on catfishing, right? Like, that's what most of you tune in for. But I will, if I'm being 100% real with you, I've kind of been into the carp more so lately than the catfishing. I've been doing the bait experiment with the soybean meal and the panko, although I think I'm pretty much done with that soybean meal. I think the panko is the way to go. I tried out that soybean meal to try to catch more buffalo. And ironically, I hadn't caught a buffalo since I started using it until my last carp session, where I was using panko and soybean meal side by side to try to compare the two, and I'll be damned if I didn't catch I caught one buffalo, and I caught it on panko. So I think I'm about done with the soybean meal experiment. But I've been in the mood for some carp fishing lately. I go through phases. And I have to be careful, and I'm trying not to get to a point with carp that I've gotten with catfish where I don't appreciate the smaller ones anymore. Like you take our fish that we've got out here today. These blues that we've caught so far, most of them have been small. Even the fun sizers have been small. It would have been lengthwise what I would consider fun size, but I mean, you've seen them. Like, they're skinny. Like, they're not very good quality fish today, by my standards. Because my standards, I have, through the years, caught enough big fish that it, like the drug ad, this is the analogy I used on a recent carp. Here, look at this bass. Where's he going now? He must not see I got a camera here. He's taking a leak. He's taking a leak off the back of the boat. Lucky for him, this camera don't zoom. Would have him all over a different kind of website Jared's probably looking at from prison if he gets any computer time. This is fish here. Messes. I think it's another one's hit our bait and come up in the water column. Yep. Another one messing with us down there. Well, these fish that we've got here today, small by my standards. Because I'm at a point in my life where I'm just kind of spoiled, I guess, with the number of fish that I've caught that are significantly bigger than the ones we've got today. But every time, just look at this. He was back after it again as soon as it was down there. But every time I post a video and I call a fish a dink, or I hold up one of them skinny fun sizers, there'll be somebody in my comment box be like, man, this guy's holding up what would be my PB and calling it small or something, because it's all about perspective. And so when it comes to the carp fishing, I'm still at a point where I'm inexperienced enough with it that what the experienced carp fisherman would call a smaller carp or their dink or whatever, something that wouldn't make them happy to catch necessarily, because they're out there looking for more trophy class carp. Look at this, damn it, he's going now. He just pulled up his trolling motor. He went over and made about 3 casts, took a piss, and now he's leaving again. It ain't no wonder he ain't catching no fish. He ain't fishing long enough to catch any. I don't know if they're going to be up in shallows right now anyhow with this front just coming through. I don't think they might have pulled back off a little bit. What do I know? Oh, good. I'm glad he's finally getting on. I just don't. And it don't matter. Again, I'm not interfering with him. He's not interfering with me. Nothing wrong about what he's doing. But when I come out on the water, I just want to be left the hell alone. And when there's a Monday morning, you've got me and him, the only 2 people in the water, and we're within earshot of each other, it's like, why? Why? If I had come out here and he was up on that point, I'd have just kept moving. I'd have went on down. There's lots of places just like we're fishing today. Same for him. But anyhow, I'm hoping I don't get to a point to where I can't appreciate those what experienced carp fishermen would call smaller carp. Like right now, they're still extremely fun for me to catch. And so I've kind of been pacing myself. Like if I'm in the mood to go carp fishing, man, like I'll go do it 5 days in a row if I ain't careful. That's just my nature. Like if I get on, like this year, I've ate steak damn near every day this year. Why? Because I started a habit. I got into the habit of it. And I enjoy eating steak, so I'll just keep doing something until I don't enjoy it anymore. And so I worry if I carp fish too much, I will start to lose the enjoyment of catching those smaller ones. And I don't want to do that. Like, I want to continue to have fun with those. I don't want carp fishing to get to the point where I have with catfishing, where, sure, I'm having fun being out here on water today. This is an enjoyable day to be out here. The weather's a little cooler than I would like this morning, but I mean, it's an enjoyable day nonetheless. But with the fish we've gotten, in my standards where they are, it's hard to be fully satisfied with the catches that we've had so far. Now, we've had enough fish today. I'll probably go ahead and post this video, and if I was doing an edited video, this video wouldn't get posted because, you know, in an edited video, they're more like highlights. I feel like you need to have at least one good-sized fish to kind of have a highlight video. But for this type of video, where we're just out here, I mean, we're out here on a real fishing trip together, as long as we get something, I feel okay with posting it. Now, like when I went to Alabama there last week, that second session where an hour and a half in before I get one small fish, and that one small fish ends up being all I get, it's like, you know, I don't want to post a 5-hour-long video with one small fish. I don't want to do that. But I mean, if we can get bit fairly regularly and whatnot, like that's just fishing, man. We're just out here doing something we shouldn't be doing together. We should be dragging right now. That's what we should be doing. It's paying off. This isn't. This will pay off, if not today, at some point here in the near future, when the anchor bite kind of gets going again. But right now, today, it was just it was the wrong play. I knew it was the wrong play coming out here, but by gosh, it's what I wanted to do today. I wanted to fish out of this kayak. I wanted to catch fish on a suspended bait. And so that's what we're doing. Because it goes back to what I was talking about before with finding what it is that you enjoy doing. That way, even if you don't get the results that you ideally want on a particular trip, you still had the experience of doing what it is you love to do. I mean, I think it's like that. You take that guy right there, he obviously didn't know what the hell he's doing bass fishing, but you take somebody that's a fairly competent bass fisherman. I'll use Pro Moderator. Some of y'all remember Pro Moderator. He used to moderate some of my live streams. I don't see him too much anymore. He's busy with his real estate mogul stuff, and he ain't been doing a lot of the local tournaments. He's been doing more national bass fishing tournaments. But I'll use him as an example here because he's a prime example of the point I'm trying to make. Is somebody like him, he's a pretty good bass fisherman. I mean, he's very competent in what he does. He's cashed in a lot of tournaments. He's won some money, both locally and on the national level. Don't tell him I've complimented him. I'll never hear the end of it. But he has a way that he likes to fish. And he doesn't really deviate from that. Like he's what you would call, these bass fishermen would call a power fisherman. He's going to throw big baits. He likes that rat lure. He throws it all the time. He's going to throw chatter baits, spinner baits, like bigger profile baits on heavier tackle. He fishes shallow most of the time. Like, that's what he likes doing. And, you know, he has success with it. Now, is that power fishing in the shallows? Is that the way to go all the time? No, of course not. But that's what he's going to do all the damn time. And when the bite's on, he's going to catch them. And when it ain't, maybe he catches a few anyway just because he's good at it, or maybe it's a day where he don't do particularly good. But regardless, he likes fishing that way. He enjoys throwing those lures in the places up there in the shallows and stuff, and he enjoys doing it. What he don't enjoy doing, I don't even know if he owns a spinning rod. If I ever saw Pro Moderator throwing a Ned rig, I would just go buy a jacket because hell would have frozen over. Like, he just won't do it. He hates it. And so even if a bite is, we got something here, speaking of bites, something hit us. But even if a bite in a tournament, a bass fishing bite, like if it called for him to have to throw a Ned rig or a smaller bait on spinning tackle, maybe fishing offshore structure of some kind, like, he just ain't gonna do it. Like, and if he even tried, he'd be miserable doing it. It just ain't his personality, ain't his style. So, you know, he's willing to catch the fish, doing his style of fishing. He's going to catch the fish when that bite's on. He's going to catch some fish anyway when that bite's not on. And when the bait is just, or when the bite is just off, he's still going to do that anyway, by God. But I think he has fun just being out there, throwing those lures in that situation, like just the act of doing it. I think for some of these bass fishing guys, you know, me, I'll sit out here spin fishing and I'll kick back and relax and just kind of go into my own world. Not so much when I'm doing one of these videos and I'm talking nonstop, but like if I was just out here fishing, say I was doing an edited video, in between fish, I'd just be kick back, relax, maybe playing some Candy Crush. Has he got it this time? I wonder if this ain't one that's on the fly over here, folks. I think we got another. He's either eat the fly or foul hooked himself on it. These dang fish, man, today, they've just been small and pesky. Get up here, fish. Let's see what you, yeah, he's all foul hooked. Look at this fish, is so dumb. He's as dumb as this girl from Subway last night. He's foul hooked himself twice. This is like that girl at the damn Subway that got that nose ring going in both sides of her nose. She done got stuck twice with that nose ring. This fish has got stuck twice. You dumb fish. You might be the dumbest fish in this river. You done tore your tail up now. Look at you. You done tore it up now, buddy. You gonna have a scar. Chicks dig scars, but they don't dig stupid people. I don't even know how you managed to do that, fish, but getting foul hooked once is a bad day. Getting it twice, you dumbest fish alive. Stupid people get scars, fish. You got stupid right there. You done got yourself even. That fish is so stupid, we're gonna call him stupider. And that ain't even a word. But stupid people don't know stupider ain't a word. Get all that slime off there. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut up another bait. We'll cut another skipjack. Probably go ahead and reel in our other line too and switch it out. Also, let's take a look at this thing. I think it's, they sat down there and nipped it, and they've got the gill plates. Eat the gills out that thing. They like them gills. let's just do it. Let's cut up another. We'll throw this back here just in case we were to need it somehow, but we've got our white bass here in the cooler too that we could maybe try, but I just got a lot more confidence in skipjack. You know what, maybe we'll do that. Let's put a skipjack head on and a white bass chunk. How's that sound? The dumbest idea you've ever heard of? Probably. About as dumb as coming out here and doing a technique that ain't working. That's what we'll do though, by gosh. We'll mix it up that way. Still use a head and a chunk. Let's do different species of baits. My personal best blue came on white bass, and it was in the month of October actually, on this body of water. We'll see what this will do for us here. We just need a big movement of larger fish to work up here on this. Well, there's something else right there beside. These fish are taunting us, man. Coming up here right beside us and splashing. All right, down the head bait goes. We'll reel in this other chunk over here next. And if nothing else, this white bass chunk will be a little bit tougher bait for them to rip off the hook. It's definitely a tougher bait than skipjack. I can't remember how long it's been since we switched out this bait anyway. But we'll go ahead and do it now since we're cutting the bait. There for that other rod. This one looks like it could be switched out anyhow. I may actually take that bait and slice it up and drop it down there for them smaller fish to maybe leave us alone. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it don't. But yeah, Pro Moderator, I mean, he's a competent bass fisherman. And he's got a style that he likes doing. And he's not going to deviate from that. And if he ever did, I mean, hell would have to freeze over for him to throw a Ned rig. But even if the situation called for it, like, he just ain't going to do it. It just ain't him. It ain't his style. And I think that's important to figure out what it is your style is. Now, if you're a jack of all trades type person, that's okay too. But if there's something that you either really don't like, I mean, it ain't worth wasting your time over, because even if it don't work out, and it probably won't because you don't like it. It's hard to get good at something you don't like. I mean, if you do anything enough, you'll get good at it. I mean, again, most of you, myself included, 80% of people out there working a job they don't like, you do it 40 hours a week, you're going to get good at it. But most people, when it comes to something like fishing, if you don't like a particular technique, you ain't going to log 40 hours a week doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a hard time doing something long enough to get good at it if you don't like it. And it's something that you're voluntarily doing, not like at a workplace. So I'm going to set y'all here for a second. We've reached the point in the morning now where it's heated up enough that my core temperature's heating up. I gotta lose the sweatshirt now. I needed this thing first thing in the morning. But now We don't need it no more. Bear with me a second here, y'all. We unedited. I'll keep the camera pointed away so you don't have to watch me strip. Although some of y'all out there perverts like old Jared from Subway, you probably want to see me strip. There's probably one or two of you girlfriends or wives watching this video with you. She might want me to strip too. I don't know. All right. Set that up there. Yeah, folks, we've heated up a little bit now. It's supposed to be like this afternoon, like 80 degrees. But these morning temperatures are just, the last couple of days been 50. Too cold for me. I'd rather it be 70 in the mornings. Hell, I got boots on today too. Can't even see I just had my toes done. Me and the girlfriend went and got a Asian spa pedicure. Can't even see my fancy toes. This girl took a grinder to my corns. Like it was an actual like tool, a grinder with a Dremel tool like head on it there. Grinded them damn things. Y'all ain't even gonna get to see them. And some of you out there, you Subway Jared perverts, probably want to see my toes too. I don't even remember what the hell I was talking about now. Oh, pro moderator. But yeah, you know, just figuring out what you like to do. It's important. And if you like doing something, you're going to get good at it because you're going to put in more time. You're going to stick with it longer. And you will get to a point with it where, much like Pro Moderator can go out on a day where maybe the best play for him isn't doing that particular technique, but he's still going to get some fish. And you take like us today. I like doing this. I feel confident in my ability to read a map. I know fish are going to work up on this point. They're going to work back in this creek, and we're set up to take advantage of both. So even though this technique today not been producing well, we're not going to come out here and get skunked today, right? I mean, we're still getting some bites. We're still getting some fish. We're getting, you know, fish that's not the best quality, but by gosh, it'd be somebody's PB, you know, if I could get myself to the way I used to be to appreciate such a thing. It's funny how things change. And I told this in a carp video recently. But I can remember catching my first, what I thought was just a huge catfish, which in hindsight probably wasn't 15, 20 pounds at the most. But definitely bigger than what that fish over there hitting that piece of white bass is, though. But I can remember telling myself that day, like, I'm so proud of myself. I was like, man, if I could just get to where I could catch this size of fish consistently, like, that would be all I wanted. I'd be set. And now, you know, I can do that pretty consistently. There's this fish, I see. He ain't got it, he dropped it again. But now I can get those size of fish that was just a monster to me at the time. I get them fairly consistently. But yet, I've done it so much, I've gotten so many of those fish that now I need something more. And I don't want the carp fishing to turn into that. I'm really worried about that. So I try to, even though lately, like, I've really been in the mood to go, I try to pace myself on it. Because I feel like if I don't indulge, like if I don't overdo it, I'll be able to keep that. It's almost like a childhood excitement, if you will, toward it. And that's why I want to keep that. I do. You know, that's what I want. Of course, I say that when I go ultralight fishing. How many thousands of fish have I caught now with the ultralight rod. I still enjoy the hell out of it. I still, I mean, you give me an ultralight rod and some 6-7 inch bluegill, I can make a day of it and have a damn good time. Like I still enjoy it. But I think part of that is the tackle. You know, everything's fun on an ultralight rod. So if I'm going out and catching fish on the ultralight, I'm gonna have a good time. Whereas you take something like catfishing, the gear I use is suitable for any size catfish, really. Like the size of the fish that we've caught today, they're still enjoyable to catch on this gear. As this fish over here keeps hitting that right rod. But you know, these rods, this is my signature series rod. Golly Whopper rod from Catfish Sumo, right? When we were going through the design process of what I wanted out of my signature rod, one of the things that I emphasized was that I wanted a rod that was capable of landing a huge fish, 80+ pound monster catfish. It needed to have enough backbone to do that, but I wanted it to have enough action in it to enjoy the smaller fish, because, I mean, let's be real, most of the fish, even those of you guys out there that are trophy hunting exclusively, most of the fish you're going to catch throughout the year are smaller fish, 5 to 10 pound range. That makes up the bulk of your catches. And depending on the body of water, maybe it's smaller than that, maybe it's bigger than that, but you're going to be 5 pounds, 7 pounds, 10 pounds. That's going to be, over the course of the year, the bulk of your catches are going to be 10 pounds or less. I don't want to not enjoy those fish. I want to still have fun reeling them in. But at the same time, like, I need enough backbone that if the day comes that I hook into that 100-pound triple-digit fish, like, I want to have a reasonable expectation of catching it. But there's such a disparity between catfishing, between the small ones of 1 to 2 pounds to the biggest fish that are 100+ pounds. Like, you can't come out here with you can come out here with a light rod that the fish we've got today would be a battle on. But if you do that and you hook that 100-pounder, boy, is it going to be a kick to the gonads if you lose that thing. You get the fish of a lifetime, but you don't have the tackle appropriate to catch it, and you lose it. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be a kick to the gonads. And that's been kind of my hang-up on doing the light tackle catfishing more often, is that I'm worried that the day's going to come, I'm finally going to hook that monster, and it's going to happen when I'm using a bass rod and 10-pound line or something. And so, you know, when you're catching these smaller catfish, a day like today where everything we've gotten's been relatively small, and I'm using a rod that's, you know, it's light enough that those are fun, but it's not, if we were targeting fish that were the size that we've caught, say 10 pounds and under today, I wouldn't be using these rods if I was just targeting 10-pound and under fish. Like, I would use a much lighter action rod to where those 10-pound and less fish would be significantly more fun. And so I think, you know, when you do the comparison to the ultralight fishing, where every time I go ultralight fishing, I have a great time, even if I'm catching 5-6 inch bluegill, the tackle is appropriate for the size of the fish. And then when you do hook into something a little bigger, maybe it's a yellow bass or a white bass, maybe you get a drum or a larger crappie or something, largemouth, smallmouth, whatever, you know, a fish that's a little bigger than the tackle would really suggest that you would go after. You know, it's just fun. It's a battle on the lighter line and the lighter tackle. If I lose it, is it the end of the world? No. Not a big deal. There's been times I've hooked bass, smallmouth, largemouth that are 3, 5, 6 pound range on that ultralight and watched them come up and shake their head and break my line or spit the lure or whatever. And in that moment, it's like, as this rod over here gets hit, in that moment, you're like, oh man, I lost that dang fish. But there's still the excitement of it that you caught it or that you hooked it on the ultralight and you got to battle it a little bit. I don't think in that situation, if I had a bass rod, 10-pound line, and I hooked that 100-pounder and I lost it, there would still be some excitement, but I think there'd be a lot of cuss words too. You know what I mean? Like, if I lose a big bass on the ultralight, I'm not cussing myself. If it happens on a catfish, especially when I've got tackle that is more appropriate for that size fish, like if I wasn't using it, I'd be a little bit more disappointed. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe because with the carp, the tackle I use is I mean, they're lighter action catfish. I use them Catfish Sumo chopstick rods, so they're a lighter action catfish rod. They're really more the type of catfish rod you would want if you were targeting catfish that were 10 pounds or less, 15 pounds or less. Well, the carp I'm getting are mostly 10, 15 pounds and under. And carp fight harder than catfish pound for pound anyway, so on that tackle, it's really appropriately sized tackle. And so maybe the excitement lasts a little longer for me. Maybe it never goes away because of the tackle I'm using. Maybe it'll always be fun. But I hate to take the chance on it. Just like this fish here apparently hates to take the chance of getting that hook because he keeps just nipping. But I hate to take a chance on it and really just start carp fishing all the daggone time and then ruin it for myself. I'd rather just pace myself. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. Like if this fish over here, if he would make himself absent and quit hitting that bait, I would think more fondly of him versus him down there just chewing on it and tearing it up, especially when we just put that fresh head down. There was another one splashed right there. I don't know what he was. They're chewing up that head bait, man. Yeah, not the most thoughtful fish down there right now, not the most courteous. Kind of like that girl at Subway last night, not putting any meat on the bread. How does Subway stay in business, though? For real, though. Like, who the hell is going in there regularly and paying $12 for a sandwich that's all bread? Like, who's doing that? I don't get it. I'll probably never go back to Subway. I didn't want to go last night. They ain't no other options in my town other than fast food. I don't know why. And I guess all these fast food restaurants are making money or else they wouldn't stay in business. But I don't know why we can't get a nice sit-down restaurant in my town. It ain't for lack of people. God knows we got enough people moving here. But if you want to have some chicken wings, like it's football season. And in the football season, I tend to eat more chicken wings. I'm not much on craving food. Like I don't, you hear oftentimes people that struggle with their weight, they'll say they get a craving. And like they have to have that particular type of food or whatever. Like they have to have it. Like that craving won't be satisfied until they get it. I've never been that way. Like I don't really crave things all that much. And when I get in a habit, like, you know, again, I've been eating steak. I got stuck at home there during the polar vortex when we had that big snow last winter, and I got in the habit of fixing my own food there at the house. And so I've been eating steak ever since then, damn near every day. Because I got in the habit of fixing my own food, and then it's cheaper to eat a steak than it is to go to fast food. I get a steak there at the Aldi for $7. On the way home from Alabama this past week, Thursday there, I stopped at McDonald's. I had to get gas. And so I pulled off, I got gas, and I went into the McDonald's there. Got a quarter pounder with cheese value meal. There ain't no value in it, but that's what they call them. It was almost $9 for a hamburger that ain't real meat. And I think it was supposed to be a medium fries. It was not very many. But like, I paid more for that than what I could fix a nice steak for myself. So, you know, and so anyway, I got in the habit there during polar vortex. I was cooking at home. And because I don't really crave stuff, like if I get on something that I'm eating and it's easy to make and enjoyable when I do eat it, like I'll just keep eating it. And so I've been eating steak for, 9 months now? And saving a fortune doing it. But you look at my town, it's all fast food. You look at sit down, well, I know where I was going, the chicken wings. Like this time of year, the one thing I will say I kind of get a craving for is this time of year when football season starts, I start craving chicken wings. You know, during the ball game, I like to sometimes eat some chicken wings. You know, in my town, we got nowhere to go get any wings at. Nowhere. We have no wing place. You gotta go all the way to Knoxville if you want chicken wings. If you want to get a steak in my town, nowhere, there's no steakhouse. You gotta go all the way to Knoxville. We got 52 different fast food restaurants all up and down the highway. Hardee's, McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Bojangles, Zaxby's, Chick-fil-A, Buddy's Barbecue, Crystals. Hell, I'm shouting out all I hope they enjoy the free advertisement. Taco Bell. Any kind of fast food you could possibly want. But if you want something that's actually food, forget about it. You got nothing. Unless you go breakfast or lunch during the week, you can go Donna's. Who the hell are these guys? Well, a couple guys in John boat coming behind us here. Hopefully they're moving on. I hope they're not catfishing. I really hope they're moving on. I don't know what they're doing. They're idling over, I guess. I hope that don't mean they're going to idle over this way. I don't know where they come from, actually. I know where I want them to go, but I ain't going to say that. It's wrong. That headbait over there has been hit a bunch. I guarantee you they've chewed the gills out that thing. That's our last skipjack head, but we got the white bass head we could put on. That white bass chunk got hit a couple times, but right now, if I got skipjack, that's what I'd rather be using. And prior to yesterday, I had been getting skipjack pretty easily again. On a place where they've been in there in good numbers, and had finally felt like I had gotten on a good bite, which is welcomed as much as I struggled this summer to catch them. But yesterday morning just wasn't the time to be out there. I think the weather had to have played a role. They were there, as evidenced by the ones I got, but okay, John Boatman's going behind us here, go other side of the channel, good. Yeah. I mean, this is a big section of the river here, big wide section. There's no reason for anybody to be on top of anybody out here. There just ain't. At least it's a nice day, though. I mean, I don't like being cold. And I don't like having to wear layers. But it's nice to be sitting here at whatever hour it is. I don't know what time it is now. 10 o'clock probably. 10, 11-ish, somewhere in there. It don't get sunrise till after 7 now. But it's nice to be sitting here at this hour and be comfortable. You go back in time about a month, it'd be miserable. Camera would be overheating right now. I hope we're past the sweltering part of the heat. You never know. We have a lot of fake falls here in East Tennessee. You think you're into fall, and then you'll have a stretch of 90-plus degree days. But I'm hoping we're kind of over the hump, I hope. If we could have temperatures mid-60s in the mornings and low 80s in the afternoon, that's perfect. Low humidity, too. That'd be perfect, man. I don't know what that boat down there is doing. I thought that was a ski boat, but I don't know what they're doing. They'd come up on the shoreline and they turn back around. Yeah, I don't know what the hell is going on, just like with this bait over here. What's this fish doing with this bait? He just dropped it. They're eating the daggone gill plates, man. They're eating the gills out of it. Oh, hell, now we got Pontooner over here behind us with a tuber he's pulling. Hopefully they go on, too. Definitely more pleasure boat traffic on this body of water than some of the other places I fish, but this time of year, with it being kids back in school and whatnot, usually the weekday mornings are tolerable. I can actually come back out here and fish again. Rod over there gets hit again. Y'all wave at pontoon boater and his tuber. I hope they just keep going. I hope they ain't going to circle around and go up and down through here. Danged old fish back again. Here comes the airplane man. Yeah, folks, man. The quality of fish, we've got more numbers of fish today than I anticipated. I was hoping to average about 1 an hour today. But the quality's just not been there yet. A little disappointing on that. We would have, you second guess yourself, and there's no way of knowing really. Who knows what would have happened had we been dragging out here today, or I probably wouldn't have been dragging out here. I would have probably went further on down river if I was going to drag today. Now here comes the John boat. Now they're coming over here. He just went over the other way. Now they're coming this way. Another splash right here beside us. None of these fishermen can make up their damn mind. And again, when you're like that, when you're indecisive, you ride around all day without baits in the water. I don't care if you bass fishing, crappie fishing, catfishing, you got to have baits in the water to catch fish. You spend all day riding around, you ain't gonna catch nothing. They're gonna go over here and fish right in front of us, I reckon. That one guy up front, he's got him a big gulp. I don't ever get a big gulp. I don't go in gas stations. I got some scratch-offs. My mom, oh, is he hooked now? I think he might be hooked now. I think it's another one probably on that fly, though. Yeah, that's another dink. Dinkity-doo-dah. I hope these fellas in the John boat don't see me reeling it in. It might encourage them to stick around over here. What we got here? Yep, on the fly. Now, he ate the fly. He's got it in the mouth. We're going to switch this head bait out while we got it up here, too. They've destroyed it. They have absolutely destroyed this head bait. I'll show you here in a second. Let me bring him in. Nope. Yeah. He actually got that. Speaking of nose rings, this one didn't get it in the mouth. He got it in the nose. He heard me talking about that girl at the Subway with the stupid nose ring, and he wanted one too. He heard that's what the cool people are doing. Looking like a Bebop action figure from the Ninja Turtles. Look at this thing. Chewed to pieces. We'll throw that out. We're going to grab that white bass head. Let's put the white bass on and see what this will do. We can't do any worse with it. Let's see if we can find another one down there that wants a nose ring. I guarantee you if that fish had a hat, it'd still have a flat bill and a tag on it. Guarantee it. I don't know how that trend got started. The flat bill hats. Best I can figure is these kids wearing those flat bill hats, whoever started the trend didn't have a man in their life to teach them how to wear a hat proper. I guess their dad had either run off with another woman or was in jail or something. And so they never got taught how to properly wear a hat. And they started wearing a hat inappropriately. And people saw it, and enough of them started doing it, not because they wanted to wear a hat like that, because they just didn't know any better. And it was noticeable because it was different, and other people want to be different too, and so it just kind of caught on. But I'm pretty sure it stemmed from people that didn't have daddies. Their daddies was in jail. Because if they'd had a dad at home, I would hope that the man of the house would have a chat with them about how to wear a hat proper. You'd think they'd talk to them too about putting them rings in their nose, looking like Bebop. Some of you out there my age, you had them action figures too. I had me Ninja Turtles. Bebop, Rocksteady, Master Shredder, Master Splinter, all the Ninja Turtles. I heard they coming out with a movie. But, well, I say I heard. I saw they were, but I saw it on social media, so you don't know if it's true or not. What is true, though, and this is something I'm excited about, folks. This is going to interrupt my football watching because I'm gonna work this series in. There is a Vince McMahon documentary. It's a documentary series that Netflix is coming out with. and it's coming out here into this month, September. It's going to be 6 parts, an hour each, so 6 hours of this. And apparently it was the same people that made Tiger King a few years ago, which I thought Tiger King, fascinating documentary series. I guess old Joe Exotic, he's probably in jail still with Jared. I wonder if they're in the same prison. I'd be interested to know if Joe Exotic and Jared from Subway know each other. Like if they're on the same cell block. What do they do all day? They might be playing cards with each other or something. Joe Exotic, man, they had a petition online. Hundreds of thousands of signatures to get him a pardon, presidential pardon. That didn't happen. That's how I know them damn online signature things, the petitions. I don't waste my time with any of them. Like, in the catfish community, we got all these guys wanting to ban the pay lakes and stuff, get them shut down. And they want you to go online all the time and sign this petition to change whatever law, blah, blah, blah. Folks, ain't none of them politicians give a damn about no online petition. Nobody. If politicians were going to cave because of a number of signatures on a petition, Joe Exotic would be free right now, because they had hundreds of thousands of people signing that petition to free him. And you know what? He's still in the pokey. Him and Jared from Subway. So them online petitions ain't worth a damn. I ain't wasting my time on any of them. I ain't doing it. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. Yeah, I watched old Tiger King when it come out. I watched it. Fascinating. If you put me on a lie detector test right now and ask me, do I think if Carol Baskins killed her husband or not? And this is the honest truth. You can put me on a lie detector, hook me up. I think she killed him and fed him to those tigers. I think she did. You can't disappear in modern day times. You can't. With technology the way it is, and of course this was a long time ago when she allegedly killed him and fed him to the tigers, but still, modern day times, DNA testing and all that stuff, technology, like if he was still alive, there would be some sighting of him. There's some sighting somewhere. I think Carol Baskins, yeah, I think she put him in that meat grinder. Can't prove it. Nobody can. That's just my thoughts, though. And obviously, I've watched Tiger King documentaries, so I'm pretty much an expert. I also watched her Dancing with the Stars performance. I don't watch that show. Like, I'm not into Dancing with Stars or American Idols and stuff. I don't. The only reality show I watch is Survivor, which I've watched every episode of every season. I'm a big Survivor fan. It should be starting up again here soon, too. Big fan of Survivor, though. Show ain't been as good in recent years as in years past. They got too woke on there, I guess. It's not as enjoyable as it used to be. But that's the only reality. Of course, I guess football's kind of a reality show. Football's the original. Sports are the original reality TV. But I'm going to make time to watch that Vince McMahon documentary. And I think it's going to be amazing. If y'all haven't, and many of you haven't, kept up with wrestling in recent years, like I don't watch the current wrestling shows. I did as a kid. Up through my teenage years, back when wrestling was good. But it got stupid. And it's just not as enjoyable now as what it was when I was a kid. So a lot of you may not understand or may not be aware of that Vince McMahon is no longer affiliated with WWE or WWF as it was when I was a kid. Like, he made it to what it was and got booted out of the company. He took it public years ago. It's a publicly traded company, as this fish is going to publicly trade that bait down there. It's on the white bass chunk. He dropped it. I thought he dropped it. Maybe he's come up with, they're coming up in the water column with it. No, he did drop it. But he had come up in the water column with it. Send it back down. So anyway, Vince McMahon takes the company public. And he's a gazillionaire. Literally a billionaire for sure. And come to find out, he is also a pervert, not to the point that Jared from Subway is, but apparently he likes to doo-doo on women. And so he had this, well, girls, one of them here that's filed a lawsuit, he was paying her off, like hush money. And he stopped paying her, so she sued him. And so everything come out in the court documents and whatnot, and the stuff that she was, or that he was making her do, and part of it, he was doo-dooing on her, like literally doo-dooing on her. Now that fish has got it. Now it's got it. Okay, that might be a better fish. That is a better fish. That's a better fish right there, folks. That's a better fish right there. Okay, that one hit it. That one there hit it. A little better. It's taken a while out here today, folks. We've had some sort through some dinks here, but I think this one's going to be probably the biggest fish of the day. The bar is set low, but nice to get a solid tug on the line. It's a blue. I feel him rolling. The flatheads have dodged us today. Nice. Feels good anyway. I hope it's not another small one that's maybe foul hooked or something. If that's the case, I hope he comes off so we can at least pretend like we got a better quality fish. I'll at least sell it to you and say it's a better quality fish anyway. This fish, he just got excited. He heard me talking about Vince McMahon doo-dooing on people and the documentary coming out about it and how he got kicked out of his own company because he quit paying a woman hush money and she sued him and all that stuff come out. Fascinating stuff. I think it's going to be an interesting documentary. I've seen this fish's tail, but I ain't seen it yet. Yeah, definitely the best fish of the morning here. This is a more quality fish right here now. Why does it have to happen at the end of a trip? At least the filming part of the trip. I'm gonna fish another hour, hour and a half probably. But my camera battery ain't gonna last that long. Ate the white bass. Yeah, that's a little better quality fish right there. That's more like it. Give him a little slack. I'll grab this thing. God knows I ain't gonna get y'all to land him for me. Yeah, that's a better fish right there. Slammed that bait though, didn't he? Absolutely slammed it. He's fired up to see that Vince McMahon documentary. As soon as I got to talking about Vince McMahon, this fish says, I got to get up here and hear more about this. Come on in, fish. All right there, folks. That's more like it now. That's more... That's more what I want to see right there. Definitely more of the takedowns like what I'm looking for. That takedown and this kayak, that's fun. Like that's what I like this for right there. Nice, man. Yeah, folks. Yeah, quality fish here. Let me set you up here. Hold yourself up there, fish. Yeah, folks, you know, that's a fun sizer, more legitimate fun sizer. This one's got the length and a little bit of weight to him there. Yeah. Dang good time right there, man. Dang good time. When a rod goes over like that, you don't know till you pick up on it, like what you got. Took all morning. Like I said, as he tries to splash us on the way out, like I said, places like this where you know you're gonna have fish working through, it ain't if you're gonna get bit, it's when. You just gotta be there when they're coming through. And that's sometimes difficult to time. But I promise you, if you logged a full 24-hour session, if you're one of these people that camped on a boat or something and you logged 24 hours on a spot like this, you're going to get several fish and you're undoubtedly going to get some better quality too. And me, I'm not that kind of person. I can't put in 24 hours, especially can't do it in a kayak. Now I am going to fish longer today, just because it's a comfortable temperature out here, and having not fished in a few days, other than the bait run yesterday, and having the fact that I'm not fishing tomorrow, I can kind of go a little longer today and not have to worry about being too uncomfortable, you know. My back or butt bothering me or nothing. Now my battery, y'all ain't gonna be, I'll be fishing by myself for part of this trip because my battery here is probably, I'll have to look at it here in a second when I can see around dadgummit, oh, that thing's on there good. I'll have to look at the battery here in a second and see where we're at as far as battery life goes. Whenever it dies, or is about to, I'll cut it off before it's about to die, that way we don't end abruptly. I'd like to at least tell you it's by or something. But I'll probably go and fish another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I'm feeling froggy. Let's see what goes on out here a little bit later in the morning. Let's see if some more fish don't move up. Well, we got the biggest fish of the day on white bass head. Is it just because white bass is all we had out, or is it a preference thing? I don't know. Yeah, man, you put up time on these points. Places like, you know, the entrance of this creek here coming in from the main channel, like you're gonna run into some fish are gonna run into you. Clean your cutting board off there. Oh, I forgot to put that head back in the cooler too. We'll definitely be using that out here in a little while. I'll be switching it out with that other one here in a few minutes. Yeah, finally got us a nice fish there, man. Took, how long did it take? 3 hours, almost 4 hours. Took us to get us a quality fish, but we got one. Well, that battery is about dead. We ain't gonna be fishing together much longer, y'all. We'll see if we can give it a few more minutes here. If its battery will hold out, see if we can get another one. Yeah, I had a trip recently. I'd been dragging baits all morning and catching fish. And I'd turned the camera off. I was done filming. I was going to the house. Reeled in 2 of my lines. And boom, rod goes down like, I mean, it's just pulling. I had to bust the camera back out Just, I mean, it was a mess, but I got that dang fish in there, and it was a good one, man, biggest one of the day. But I had went a good spell without getting bit. Like, we were at that point in the morning where the bite had kind of felt like it had tapered off. And it was hot that day. Like, I remember I was ready to go, and I had a long run to get back to the car, and so I was getting the heck out of there, and then boom, that rod goes down. You just never know. You never know when that big bite's coming. But again, like this fish, it happened toward the end of a long video, so I knew nobody was going to see it. In order for people to see a fish on these videos, it's got to happen the first couple hours. But, you know, when we're doing unedited, raw and uncut, you can't. I wish I could time the bite. It's just, you know, if you see I've posted one of these videos, I've caught fish. I don't know when I've caught them during that time period, but I've caught them. Yeah, today was a good day anyway. It just got better with that fish. I may get another one here too. The way we've been getting bites, I mean, frequently enough, probably, I think I'll stay out here a couple more hours. I'm going to catch some more fish. Sometimes, especially in the, well, right here. Sometimes, though, you'll be on a bite in the morning, right around dawn, sunrise, and it'll taper off, and you ain't catching nothing after that. It's like they're just shut down. Today, I almost feel like it's improving as time has went on, which may have something to do with that cold front. That fish there just took a nip. It's probably a good thing this battery's about dead anyway. I don't know what the hell else we'd talk about for a couple more hours. I'll bust out my cell phone and play some wordscapes. You know what I used to do when I was filming the edited videos and stuff, and I was just sitting out here between fish, not talking or anything? I'd play Candy Crush, and I was on like level 5,000 something. You know, I ain't played Candy Crush in months. There's a game I play now. Somebody, I'd shout them out. They commented in my comment box. Said they play a game called Wordscapes. And I forget who it was now. I'd shout them out again. They told me about it in the comment box. But I started playing it. And now, like, if I'm on the toilet at home or something, or sitting there watching TV before bed or something, I'll pull out that Wordscapes game and play it a little bit. But I ain't played Candy Crush since I started playing Wordscapes. I haven't played Candy Crush again. They're just chewing up that head bait, man. I'll have to switch out that head bait here in a little bit and put on that other fresh head there I got cut. Rod tip. I'm gonna just. Oh heck, he's on. Okay, he come off then, I think. Let's take a look at this head. I mean, it still looks better than some of the skipjack heads. I'm gonna reuse it at least a few more minutes. I will switch it out for that other one here shortly, though. All right, got it set back out. Well, folks, I'm looking at my battery here. It's about had it. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up, I guess. Thanks for coming with me today. Wish we could have got more fish. Wish we could have got bigger fish. But this was how I wanted to fish today. Anchor down, 2 rods, set here, see what happens. And we got bit. got a pretty nice fish here a few minutes ago. So panned out for us. I'm gonna sit here a couple more hours, just off camera, get me a little R&R time, kick back, play on my phone a bit in between fish. But battery's about had it. It normally lasts 4 hours or so, and then it craps out. So anyway, get me a little off camera time fishing today. But hopefully try to get maybe one more video before the Alabama tournament. If I do good. If I don't do any good, the Alabama tournament may be the next video. But either way, thanks for coming with me today. I'll see you next time.